Israel. In 721 BC, the Assyrian king, she took us down, we fell. With a great escape, we went to the Euphrates. The Lord held the waters still. To a land where no mankind dwelt. We went. The 12 tribes of Israel. Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, Naphtali from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Simeon, the Dominicans, our highest gathering Israel. The Arabs and Africans told us at gunpoint to gather our wives and children, then sold us. In the belly of these great ships we traveled in fear. By the rivers of Babylon we found our brothers here. A higher gather us. Oh, a highest gathering Israel. Oh, he's gathering Israel. Oh, Asher, Columbia, Reuben from Australia, Issachar, the Mexicans, that's who we be, the Negroes, the Haitians, oh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, Naphtali from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Hey, Simeon, the Dominicans, our highest gathering Israel. Oh yes, that's one of my favorite songs. Our highest gathering Israel, and it's a timely lesson we have today. And hey, I believe that this particular broadcast today, it's ironic that what we're talking about is in direct relation, to the song you've just heard, A Highest Gathering Israel. Check out our topic for today, brothers and sisters. It's going to blow you away. I'm going to need some of your participation, okay, and your insight and your perspective with this particular broadcast, okay? So if you'd like to get in queue to talk about this, because I'm sure this is going to spurn some level of interest to the degree in which everyone would like to chime in on this. Okay, Jew and Gentile alike, doesn't matter. Call in and give your perspective. The phone number, if you would like to be live with the Gathering of Christ Church this evening, this so-called Wednesday, is 515-605-9327. Again, 515-605-9327. Okay, you want to call in and give your perspective? Guess what? We have a lot of room in the queue. Just make sure you hit 1. This way, we'll see. We on this side will see a question mark next to your name and pull you in. And we're going to try to get your perspectives early this evening. It's only a 2-hour show. We're going to try to keep it within that framework this evening. And the topic of our discussion today, or this evening, check this out, brothers and sisters. All right, one moment. Check out the topic of our discussion. The psychological impact of the curse or slavery. The psychological impact of the curse. Let's talk candidly, and usually when some of these things are discussed, people are shy, get offended. There's certain things we as a people don't want to discuss openly or might be outright ashamed of, but we need to talk about it to get over it and come together, right? And that's why I said I'm going to open up these lines early. How has slavery, captivity, and colonialism affected us? Now listen to where we're going at here. I know a lot of you asking, well, what do you mean? How did it affect us? Of course you know. But no, we're going to take a different perspective here, right? Check this out. Let's talk candidly. How has slavery affected us? Some of us don't even understand the degree of that particular trauma, to the point in which, to the point where we actually celebrate our, quote unquote, on the negative side, our psychosis and the residue from being controlled and destroyed for such a long period of time. A lot of us don't even understand that how we function is abnormal. That's on one area, right? Let's look back at the conquest of the South Americans, if you will, because I noticed that usually when we talk about trauma, destruction, and all those things, that our people, blacks, would like to think we have a monopoly on being enslaved. I don't know how. Maybe that's something that we hold as a badge of honor, being totally conquered. But if you would like to call in and talk about that, put that on in your bucket list also. But a lot of our people, black people, would like to say, well, listen, no one have been enslaved or been traumatized more than me. And probably so. But hey, I don't know if any of you read the American Holocaust concerning what happened to the North American Indians and what happened to the Boricua Taino Indians and those in the islands, even in Hawaii and other areas, in remote areas. And you wouldn't believe what they did to our people in China, right? So, but with this World Wide Web, everyone can chime in, right? So no, blacks in America doesn't have a monopoly on servitude, okay? But that's neither here nor there. Let's look back at the conquest of the South Americans in particular, as well as the transatlantic slave trade. Now that is prominent, we like to look at the transatlantic slave trade because we know prophetically you can point into the Bible. You can go right into the Bible and see ships would be a curse as a result of disobedience to a people. But you're going to find before the technology of planes, our people were shipped all over the earth, the four corners, including America, the West, and so on and so forth. Even to the degree where when so-called Columbus and others, the conquest of the conquistadors came to the shores of America, they were actually putting North American Indians and South Americans boatloads and taking them into Portugal, different parts of Spain to serve over there. And they were carried over there from the quote unquote New Americas by the means of slave ships, but yet it's not documented. And usually the other Southern South American tribes and others really don't bring it forth or remind others as much as, you know, our people here in the Americas. But yes, all of the 12 tribes suffered slave trade being taken by the means of ships to serve. And it's documented well before the transatlantic slave trade. So that curse in Deuteronomy 28 isn't exclusively for us in America. That prophecy was placed on all 12 tribes of Israel. It tells you in Deuteronomy 28 and 64, when you read on down, that we would be scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. That's north, east, south, and west. And then you go into the slave ships and find the Romans didn't just the Romans and Amalek and the other nations didn't just enslave people who went here to the West, our people. Okay, I just wanted to put that out there. Now, getting back on track. Looking back at the conquest of the South Americans as well as the transatlantic slave trade at the hands of the Romans, because that's who did it. That was the brain trust behind it all. I don't care what nation did it. The Romans were the brains behind our people going into captivity throughout the four corners of the earth, and that can be proven. But getting on point, what behaviors now can we now point to as a people that is a clear result from the generational trauma of captivity? I'm going to preface it there first. I want to preface there first, right? What can we as a people point to? Our activities, behavior, whatever the case is, that we can say now is a direct result of years of trauma and servitude. I need y'all to think now. Point to what's going on in our society and let us know if it wasn't for captivity or slavery, we wouldn't be doing this. Now you can fill in the this or the blank with something positive or negative. Oh, okay. Because of this trauma, this is how it has affected us positively or negatively. Okay. If we can use the word positive and having a silver lining as a result of captivity, right? But let's see. So, jumping right in, trauma. Number one, what have we learned to help us positively going forward since the slave trade? After hundreds of years in exile, right? After hundreds of years in exile, have we learned anything? That's another question. We're going to handle that at the first part, right? The first part of this. And the second part is going to be the behaviors. Not only have we learned anything after hundreds of years going forward, right? After hundreds of years of this, what can we constructively take from this and go forward to make sure something like this can never happen again? All this trauma, the psychological impact of the curse, slavery. How has captivity and servitude, how has it affected our people? Let's put that on the brain real quick. And let's make sure that Elder Lawya is with us. Elder Lawya, you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can hear me loud and clear, no issue, right?
Yep, you're coming through perfect.
Okay, and I'm sure you all can hear Elder Lawya. He's live with us. The psychological impact of slavery. And there's no coincidence that I have this shirt on that's made by I Am Apparel, showing what? The so-called Negro meeting the Boricua Taino, or the people that were conquered here in the North America, here under servitude by the Romans before the ships came, and how now we're on one shirt under one stick like the Bible prophesied we would be. We're going to talk about that. Okay. Now, again, let's talk candidly. How has slavery affected us? Looking back at the conquest of the South Americans and the transatlantic slave trade by the Romans, how has slavery affected us? 515-605-9327. And I'm also going to go into, I have a book that the brother gifted me from Florida. The religious instruction of the Negroes, in the United States. how was our minds shaped, right? How was our mind shaped through slavery? Psychologically, religious, and otherwise. Wait till you hear how they were able to control us. Not through the Bible, but through psychology and a false belief that was cooked up by the Jesuits in the Roman Catholic Church. How to control the people for generations on end. Not only, folks, to enslave black people, but use us as the lab animals or the experiment to control all people. Okay? You're going to find this thing transcends just enslaving blacks. And I'm going to go into that a little later. And it adds another caveat to our discussion today. The psychological impact of the curse or slavery for you that are coming in here, right? Looking back at our slavery, our servitude, we're talking hundreds of years. You would have thought we learned something by now, right? But let's candidly just look back. Don't and brothers and sisters, don't be ashamed. Let's talk candidly here. What behaviors that's going on amongst our people right now that we can immediately attribute to years in exile and captivity? What can you point to? Okay. Now, before we do that, you can answer it in the chat if you would like, because I need some interaction with this. I want you all to think, at our current state and constructively look at it and say, you know what? Our people does this, or we do this regularly and celebrate it. Okay. Not even realizing that this behavior is a direct result of being in captivity. Right? Just point to whatever you would like. Right? All right. It's going to be a good conversation this evening. Okay. 515-605-9327. Elder Lawya, are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there anything you would like to say before we go forward with the show?
We can proceed forward with the show. I want to, I want to see where where you're going with this, and just let things build, and also get some insight from from the callers. So I'm very interested to see what people have to say, and then I'll come back afterwards on the tail end.
Exactly. Now, there's a lot of things I would like to bring forth, but sometimes I get too anxious and immediately I'll put the cart before the horse and just spew and begin to teach. But no, I would like to hear, others' perspectives. What have they examined? That's a direct result of our plight here in America, slavery, or wherever you are in the earth, right? One person said right here, Bezalel, speaker Yeshaya Truth, said, pure separation from one another was a direct result of slavery or captivity. Good point. We would have to expound on that, but pure separation from one another is number one. Wait for Rawchaa says self-hate. That the self-hate that we are witnessing today is a direct result of captivity. Now, okay, I'm not going to say there's no right or wrong answers. I'm going to write that down, but I'm going to see if there was a little self-hating that led to our captivity, right? Right? So I'm going to write that down because that's a good one. Self-hating, because maybe some of us believe that that's an attribute that's been perpetuated because of captivity. But maybe that self-hatred is a result of captivity. Who knows, right? Like I said, I'm not going to put it out there yet. Okay. Yashakar states, gather yourselves together, O nation not desired. By keeping the laws of the Most High is the only way we can come together. That is a great point, but hey, there's a lot of Israelites out there that say keeping the law, but yet we're not together. So what's separating us? Right? So it's going to take a little more than the law. On an individual basis, okay, I can understand that. At least that puts you or us in a proper perspective when it comes to our walk with the Most High. But coming together, I'll tell you this, Christ walked amongst the disciples, and there wasn't too much coming together while he was on the earth. Okay, every place he went, the magistrates and the Israelites were looking to stone or actually kill him. It wasn't no rubbing elbows with Christ. But I digress. But that is a good point. Individually, we do need to come back to the law and understand its significance. Because what? Deuteronomy told us, if we break the law, slave ships. Deuteronomy 28. Okay. Hate your own brother. Separation of man and women. Drug abuse is a direct result of slavery. Not studying to show oneself approved to the Most High. No sense of direction and a lack of wisdom. Okay, it's like a rudderless people with no direction, no perspective. Great point there. A rudderless nation with no direction, no leadership. Sexual deviancy, one said, is a direct result of our captivity. That means one that cannot keep any order or subjection over the flesh. Great point. Evil thoughts. Someone said religion. On and on. Crabs in the bucket mentality is a direct result of captivity. See, I like this. I like some of these answers here. Lack of compassion, restlessness, abusive relationships. I hope you're not in one. Lost identity. Here's a good one. Depending on the government for food stamps, child support, leading many black men to jail while still making the government rich. Destroying each other internally as a family while the same oppressive country that enslaved you benefit from it. Huh. Great point. As a direct result of slavery, right? Self-medication, gang violence, jealousy, division, sexual immorality, on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Insecurity. Man, you put all those things together, and one must ask, where's the hope, right? Not like we can ever find a way out of this, right? But there's a way, right? There is a way, right? So let's deal with the negative portion of it first, right? And then we're going to deal with the positive. What have we learned that can help us going forward from hundreds of years in captivity? You don't have to answer it now. That's something that we're going to talk about during the second segment of this. Okay, for those who've just come in, all right, for those who have just come in, right, let me get it real quick. One moment. Okay, for those who have just come in, the psychological impact of slavery and captivity and colonialism on our people throughout the four corners of the earth. Let's talk candidly. How has slavery affected us? 515-605-9327. Let's first start with a phone call, 647 area code. And don't forget to hit the like button as you come in, which will drive traffic more so into this particular timely discussion for our people. I know a lot of you don't know where we're going at, but guess what? This is going to be a groundbreaking show this evening. But I first would like to hear your perspective. 647 area code. Shalom, you're live with the Gathered of Christ Church.
Hello. Hello, Elder Rawchaa. It's Victor calling from Calgary, Canada.
Yeah, do me a favor. Turn me off in your background there.
Oh, okay.
How you doing, Victor?
Can you hear me now? Yeah, I'm all right.
Okay, I'm still hearing myself now. Now, if you don't turn me off in the back, I'm going to have to go to the next call.
Oh, is it okay now?
Okay, am I completely turned off in your background?
Yeah. It's done.
Okay, I'm going to put you on hold, my brother.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, when I call you, you would have to have your headphones on, okay? And this way, there's no feedback. It's bad radio. It's bad broadcasting if I'm hearing myself while talking. It's hard to concentrate, and it's really bad for broadcasting, okay? 515-605-9327. All right. Okay, let me get to the next call. 337 area code. Shalom, brother.
Yes.
Or sister. You're live with
Shalom, my brother. Shalom.
You're live with the Gathering of Christ Church.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. How you doing, Elder?
I'm good.
I think every aspect of our life has been affected by these nations who have put it under slavery, because the Bible says that we were born in sin and shaped in iniquity. All these societies have been built on sin. Every aspect of our life is full of sin in these societies. So it's the Bible is correct when it says we were born in sin, and the iniquity of these societies has shaped our every attribute from what we eat, from how we treat each other, from how the things that we view on television, the things that we hear, that we let in our spirit through the radio. Every aspect, dog eat world. I mean, even I live in a small town in Louisiana, and it just about every other day or every other weekend there's a murder with these young kids killing each other. We can't talk to each other. And when you go out to try to tell people about the truth, they reject it out hand, don't want to hear it. You can read it to them. They'll tell you that they believe the Bible. They believe everything in the Bible. And then when you read to them things that are in the Bible, they'll tell you, well, that's your interpretation, and you don't know what you're talking about. You lost, you've joined a cult. So every aspect of our life, even up to the blindness of not us having eyes but can't see, and having ears but can't hear. It's all from us being in these societies and being under these societies, and we've learned it all from them. We've been taught and trained very, very, very well. And we hate, I guess we fear more than anything to leave our slave masters. Okay. So even the fear that we have has been taught to us.
Okay, if I was to quantify all that, I would have to sum it up. It's so many things you've just explained, but the sheer ignorance and stubborn behavior, even when it comes to constructive criticism, it's all but lost in our people. It's as if not only are we destitute with no hope, it seemed as if our people don't even want a solution or an answer or resolve after being traumatized for so long as a direct result. You know what? That's scary in itself. Because
it's like this, and Deuteronomy it says that if it would come to pass, we would do his law, statutes, commandments. He would set us on high above all nations upon the earth. We don't even want to reach that as a people. We want equality to the rest of the world instead of what the Most High promised. And if we follow it as a people, if we follow his law, statutes, commandments as a people, the Most High wouldn't have to do anything else for us to be set up on high above everybody else, because our lifestyle itself would be royal, regal, and holy. From the food that we take in, from the way that we treat each other, from the way that we respect and treat the Most High, our lifestyle itself would automatically catapult us above everybody else without the Most High even doing anything. He's already done everything that needs to be done. We just are in a rebellious state and won't follow.
Thank you, brother. Great points. I'm going to place you on hold. Great points. Great points you've made. I'm going to place you on hold. Go to the next call. Great, man. What a great
Thanks,
call.
brother. Shalom.
Shalom, brother. Great call. Great call. And you know what? The spirit of rebellion is what the brother just quantified in a few moments of his speaking. Like a direct result of what happened to us. It seems as if we have even rebelled more against the God who placed us in this condition. Scary, right? Scary. Straight rebellion as a result of captivity. You would think that a people who have been traumatized for so long would actually, as a people, would have learned from some of the errors which led to the other nations enslaving us. Right? All right, come on, let's go down the list real quick. I got one more here, and then we're going to jump in. 315 area code. Let's go to 315.
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom, sister. We're talking about the psychological impact of slavery and captivity. How has it affected us? That you can point to, if you can quantify 1 or 2 points.
Well, what the previous brother had said, he did hit on a lot of points. For what I see from my perspective, yes, it is the spirit of rebellion, and I definitely would say the stiff-neckedness as well. You know, we like how he made us. Whether we're going to be real strong and in the word and no one's going to back us down, or we're going to be real strong heathens and Gentiles in the mind. Like, it's just something about our character where we have this feeling of where nobody, even the Most High, can tell us anything. It's how we see each other, how we walk around, how we talk. You know, it's this competition, this animosity, and it's crazy. What I was just thinking about is just like how we were in, like, you know, back where the oppression was really, really, really on us, back in like the late like 1800s and even the early 90s and some of the early 2000s. It's just now it feels like it's a little sense of freedom now for our people. So it's just like now it's just like everyone's ball game, like, but it's not that. It's almost like.
Go on.
It's almost like some kind of facade that's going on. Like, there's so much delusion and fantasies out there. People are really focusing on what's really going on in the underground. Like, it's just like now you have so many, you know, black ethnic this, and, you know, like he would always speak of the black conscious community. Then you'll have, like, you know, your entrepreneurs. It's like they're giving us a little bit of something to distract us from the core of what's really going on. And how we're so far away in that circle, not in the center of the face of it. It's just like it's still there, you know. It's like they're giving us a little fun time right now, but it's still there, and especially for our generation, for like my generation, like it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, there's no kind of morality anymore. There's no kind of self just understanding, or just understanding for anyone. It's a lot. It's a lot more than what I could say, but
Okay, now let me ask you this. What can you point to that's positive? What can we learn from, or what can you say, well, this captivity, slavery, and oppression that has happened to our people for years. I can say at the end of this that this is what's positive that came out of it. let me start turning it now. What can you say positive out of all of this? What is positive? What have came out of this constructively that we can use to unite together to make sure that nothing like this ever happens again?
what's positive is I feel like what's positive is there have been so many outside of all the distractions. There have been a lot of really great influential people out of our of our race and of our ethnic culture. There's a lot of us. We're starting to really realize how great we really are, even while we are in oppression. We're starting to realize the greatness and how we set the tone for this world. I feel like not only is like the truth of us waking up, but not only is the truth of us waking up, it's starting to, like, even for people that's not waking up, it's just that spirit that's in the air. It's just this heightened spirit that's out there now, where we see each other and we are like we're more feeling like, okay, I see you. I do, respect and love the fact that there are a lot more Black-owned businesses out here that are, that there are a lot more, kids of our culture and of our nation that are, doing well in, certain areas as far as whatever their gifts are from the Most High, their, school and whatever. I do see that, and it's just like when we can come together on a base of the greatness of who we are and how great we are. I feel like that'll really more kind of, help us glue together, help us come more together. We've already acknowledged and understand, the fact that, we've been slaves, we've been oppressed, we already know that. But now, what are we gonna do? Like, everybody's talking, everybody's putting in their ideas in the bucket, but we need, what are we gonna do? What's our blueprint, And that's what I feel like we need. We need more action and less, less really words, unless it's coming from like the scripture, because there's no greater point to prove than the Bible.
Thank you, sister. I mean, you've hit so many points, and I thank the Most High for your perspective. But you know what? Your perspective will lead us into where I'm going right now. You're right on point into where I'm about to pivot. So I'm gonna place you on hold. We'll probably pull you back in a little later, okay?
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom. Great perspectives from brothers and sisters. And I know you on hold, 515-605-9327 if you would like to come in and speak with the elders of the Gathering of Christ Church and get in queue. Our topic for today, the psychological impact of the curse or slavery. How has slavery affected us? And we've received a lot of perspectives in the chat as well as the phone calls, okay? And what behaviors can we now point to as a people that is a clear result of our generational trauma? Do we even know that we are a people traumatized? Do we even realize it? Right? Hold on real quick. I'm sure other people would like to come in, and that's why I'm getting these messages right now, because we're about to do it here. All right. Now, I think I lost my train of thought, but I'm going to jump right in. We have 1,000 people. We're over 1,000 people. Hit the like button. This is where I want it to be. And guess what? We're going to give our perspective according to this, okay? We're going to give our perspective. But I still want you to chime in, right? I need you to chime in because, first of all, I would like to deal with the traumatic part. Have we learned anything that can help us positively going forward after thousands of years in exile and slavery? Right? What have we learned? I asked that question to the young lady. And I also wanted to go into the fact that a lot of our people don't know that we are living living after generational curses and being traumatized for years. A lot of us don't even realize it. But what have spurred this conversation for me tonight, you might ask? Brothers and sisters, I pulled up my computer earlier, right? And that's why you see me smiling while the sister was talking, because it's good to see a sister, young sister, with the proper perspective. Okay? With the proper perspective in this day and age, who understand that what we have experienced as a people is a direct result of a curse written generations ago, and is looking to turn all of that into positivity. Instead of using the negative that have happened to actually perpetuate the curse and harm others of our people, she's looking to say, you know what? I'm not going to perpetuate the curse and be the stereotype that led to this. Okay? I'm going to deal with this from its proper perspective and do what's right morally according to God, right? And I was laughing as she was speaking, because when I looked at my computer today, the first thing I opened up when I went into my email, you know how they have their little articles, the little articles on the side, folks? When you go into your email, they have these little articles from Time or whatever the case is. You would never guess what I seen. And that particular article led to this broadcast this evening. This sister right now touched on earlier with the sister and brother, self-hating, the spirit of rebellion came as a direct result of captivity. Freedom, what we deem as freedom. You know what, brothers and sisters? If this is freedom, we were better off with shackles on our hands and feet. If this is freedom, if this is what we are free to do, based on what I'm about to drop on you. Also, what's perpetuated as a result of us being set free, if you can call it that. I don't know how you can call it that when you look at the number of black men who are incarcerated, just people in general, of our people enslaved in what they would call prison today. We've in prison. We have more people in prison than any other country in the free world. Right? But the love of money, individualism, feminism is as a result of it, being free to do what you would like, right? The article. Lawya. This is what I seen when I opened my computer earlier, Lawya. Right? Mm-hmm. You know I'm saving this. But this is what I seen, Elder Lawya. From the Atlanta Housewives, as soon as I open up my computer. Now, we pray for our people daily in hopes that they would see, especially if our people are placed in a position of influence, that they can influence the generations afterwards in righteousness. I opened my computer, Elder Lawya, and what did I see? Candy Burgess of the Atlanta Housewives introduces the world to her sex dungeon. I examined it, Lawya. I looked at it. I'm like, all the years of the trauma we've gone through in captivity. I remember at one time, a sister used to be traumatized with hearing the old stories of what happened in captivity. Women being objectified, separated from their families, given to other men, being raped and separated, children being taken from them. And I looked at that and said, you know what? After thousands of years of captivity, this is what freedom looks like. This is a direct result of slavery, captivity. Our people don't even understand, especially our sisters and brothers, don't even understand how we're perpetuating the behavior that our grandmothers, our grandfathers loathed. That they would have rather died than be subjected to how our people are being viewed today. Candy Burgess's slave dungeon. And I'm like, you know what? We're going to talk about this today, this evening. We're going to talk about the psychological impact of slavery. Because with the Stockholm Syndrome, if you're objectified, if you're raped and all that, you'll begin to perpetuate that particular spirit and believe it's regular or should be sensationalized. It's okay just to be someone's bed, whatever you want to call it. And that's from the female side. And all of our young ladies are looking forward to having their own little sex dungeons. What is this about? We are celebrating and perpetuating the curse. That's the negative part about it. And when I seen this, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, it's almost time. But that's another show in itself. It's almost time. And I'm going to let you know that I'm going to let you know what I'm talking about in particular in a moment when I say it's almost time. Time for you know what. And I'm going to tell you all at the end of this show. But all in all, folks, for those who've just come in, we're up to what? We're up to 1,186 people. Let's talk candidly. How has slavery affected us? Looking back at the conquest of the South Americans as well as the transatlantic slave trade at the hands of the Romans, what behaviors can we now point to as a people that is a clear result of generational trauma? Right? I have a whole bucket list here. Self-hating, rebellion, freedom, the love of money, individualism, feminism. Okay? Celebrating the spirit of whoredom, whoremongering. The direct result of this generational curse is called freedom. Right? Freedom. Elder Lawya, what say you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here listening, and do you hear me clearly?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I really wanted to leave my my opinion for the last, but I think that based on what brothers and sisters have presented up until this time period, it's enough to kind of build upon. And I say that because as I'm listening to, and as you mentioned, you have a bucket list. I tried to list as many things as possible as I heard from the brothers and sisters who presented their understanding of how captivity has affected us. And as people are mentioning and running off things, even though these things are present post-captivity, in this current captivity, and if anything, it has broadened the things that were existent amongst us before captivity. Everything that people have said thus far, you can actually find in Scripture as attributes that we exhibited before going into captivity. For example, self-hatred, separation from one another, lack of trust, sexual deviancy, lack of compassion, depending on government, gang violence. Now, these are all things that are attributed to post-captivity, after captivity. But as people were running these things off, I was just listening and documenting scriptures, which actually show us dealing with all of these attributes, except the loss of identity. And even that can be found in the Bible, but again, that would be considered post-captivity. But just to give some examples, right, of what I mean. Okay? Someone mentioned something about, lack of compassion, certain things that we attribute to being placed upon us after we went into captivity. Well, here's an example. Here's Hosea 4:1, and I have a few more scriptures, Elder. At any point, if I'm running over, just let me know.
No, go on. You have the floor because I'm going to take it after that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Go on.
So I'm in Hosea chapter 4, verse 1, and it says the following: Hear ye the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. For the Lord have a controversy with the inhabitants of the land. Now, usually this scripture is attributed to the land of captivity, the land of America. But according to the Bible, according to context, the Most High had this controversy with the children of Israel while we were still in the land of Israel. Now, check out the controversy. It says, because there is no truth. Now, we think that lack of truth in lies and deception is something that only existed amongst us after going through slavery, after going through captivity. But lying and deception and the lack of truth was amongst us before going into captivity.
Go on.
It goes on to say, nor mercy. Someone mentioned lack of compassion as an attribute of something that befell us after slavery. But no mercy or lack of compassion was amongst us as a nation before captivity. It goes on to say, nor knowledge of God in the land. We usually attribute not having knowledge of God or being separated from God as an attribute of post-captivity or post-slavery. But here in the Bible, it's telling us that we were separated from God while we were still in the land of Israel. It goes on to say, verse number 2, by swearing and lying and killing, murder, gang violence. We attribute this as something post-captivity. And people may say, well, gang violence how is that present in the Bible? Well, when you get the opportunity, go back into the stories of the history of when David prevailed over the house of Saul. Mm-hmm. And the wars that were taking place between the house of David and the house of Saul. Sounds very similar to what takes place today in gang violence. Mm-hmm. Or when the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom were separate and the wars that ensued after we separated as a nation. We were banging on each other no different than what brothers are doing today through gang violence. It goes on to say, and stealing. We think that stealing from each other is something that we started on this side of the slave ships, which is not true. We were stealing in the land of Israel and committing adultery, sexual deviancy, someone mentioned. Well, we were dealing with sexual deviancy in the land of Israel. When you get the opportunity, read about the story of Absalom, the son of David, who went and slept with his father's concubines in the presence of all Israel in the open public. You can read that in the Bible.
Yep.
Okay? You can read the story of the Levite's concubine when the Levite went into the land of Benjamin, and the Benjamite came to try to deal with the Levite, and the Levite, gave over his wife, and the Benjamites basically just ravished his wife all night, and she died based on the brutality that was enacted upon her by the Benjamites. Mm-hmm. This is before captivity. It goes on to say, they break out and blood toucheth blood. Therefore the land shall mourn, and everyone that dwelleth therein shall languish with the beasts of the field and with the fowls of heaven, yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. Now, I want to jump over here to verse number 4, which says, yet let no man strive nor reprove one another, for they are as they, or for thy people are as they that strive with the priest. someone mentioned earlier, I think a brother called in, and he mentioned that when you go to the youth today, you try to explain with them the truth of the Bible. They don't want to hear the solution. They don't want to hear that the Bible is the way out of this captivity. Well, we did the same exact thing in the land of Israel. We were striving with the priests who tried to turn us back to the Most High God. So it goes on, of course, the scripture mentions we are destroyed for lack of knowledge. We often go into the scripture, but you have to really go back and get the context of what the Most High was bringing forward when he said we're destroyed for lack of knowledge. And you'll find that it's the same exact things that we're suffering on this side of the slave ships are the same things we were dealing with and falling to before the slave ships. Okay? Now,
Go ahead.
the question, if we're addressing, Salakia, go ahead.
Go ahead. You have time.
Yeah,
Go on.
if at this point we're addressing, did we learn our lesson? I don't want to put the cart before the horse if we're not addressing that yet.
No, go ahead. Touch on it.
Okay. Did we learn our lesson? Okay. Last point. Okay. Well, to find out if we learned our lesson, we first have to find out first and foremost, or figure out first and foremost, what is the lesson? What was the lesson supposed to, or the lesson of captivity supposed to do within our people? And some people watching this for the first time, they ask, well, what do you mean that slavery was a lesson? I thought our people were innocently living in Africa, and then a white man just came and picked us from the shores of Africa and, just brutalized us. What do you mean a lesson? Is this some type of cruel joke? You're going to find out that we have a very romanticized, fictionalized view of our history.
Exactly. Go on.
So, getting to the point in the Bible, right? What were we supposed to learn from this captivity? Leviticus chapter 26, verse 36 through 41 says,
Hold
and
on.
upon them that are left.
Hey, Lawya, I'm going to let you just read one precept, breaking down this particular portion, and then we'll save the rest for later because it's a segue into where I'm going. But go on.
Yes, sir. Did we learn our lesson? Leviticus 26 and 36. And upon them that are left alive of you, I will send a faintness into their hearts in the land of their enemies, and the sound of a shaken leaf shall chase them. And they shall flee as the fleeing from a sword, and they shall fall when none pursueth. And they shall fall one upon another as it were before a sword, when none pursueth. And ye shall have no power to stand before your enemies. Ye shall perish among the heathen, and the land of your enemies shall eat you up. And they that are left of you shall pine away in the iniquity in your enemies' land. And also in the iniquities of their fathers shall they pine away from them, or pine away with them. Now this is how we know if we have learned our lesson. The following verses.
Come on.
Verse number 40 says, if they shall confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers with their trespasses which they have trespassed against me, and that also they have walked contrary unto me, and that I have also walked contrary unto them, and have brought them into the land of their enemies, if then in their uncircumcised hearts be humbled, and accept the punishment of their iniquity. It goes on to say, I didn't pull this part up, but it goes on to say that the Most High will then begin to remember the covenants that he made with our forefather Jacob. But this is the example to show if we've actually learned from the captivity that we've gone through as a nation. If we actually acknowledge the sins that our forefathers committed, not just after slavery, but before slavery.
But hold up, hold up now. Hold up, Elder Lawya. Someone unknowingly or don't understand the Bible or understand the plight of our people may look upon or fall on this video and say, what do you mean that I have to admit my wrong or I have to confess my faults? I did nothing wrong, okay? I did nothing wrong. I'm a victim here, okay? I'm a victim. We were minding our business in Africa, okay? It was Wakanda. We were living in what you would call euphoria before the white man came and just messed everything up and dragged us over here. And now I'm just a victim of circumstance. I did nothing wrong. I'm a victim here. So how can you say that after all the years of what happened to us with this trauma, how can you point back to me and claim that I must do something, that I must I must confess wrong? What do you mean by that? The white man did this to me. Right?
Well,
because
yes,
now you know I'm doing that in jest and satire.
Exactly.
Why?
Exactly.
Because most people think that. And when it comes to pointing to anything wrong within ourselves, something that we need to correct, we can always cover that or not correct ourselves at all by blaming our current condition on the white man who brought us here. So instead of looking at the condition, let's just blame the white man for the condition and continue in it. But what say you if someone was to come and say that to you? What you mean confess my faults and all that? We were living great before the white man came. But how would you answer that?
Well, I think there's many ways to answer that, but we have to ask ourselves, if the Bible is telling us, for example, we all are familiar with Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15, just as a starting point. Deuteronomy 28, verse 15 says that it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Come on.
So we know obviously that if we are suffering these curses that are mentioned after Deuteronomy 28 and 15, that we must have done something wrong. Now, the thing that we've done wrong, according to Scripture, is we have broke the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. So when we're speaking about you must confess your faults, you must confess your iniquity, you first have to understand what sin is, according to the Bible, which is a transgression of the Most High's law. Now, the Bible says in the book of 1 John that he that saith, I have not committed sin, is a liar. Everyone on this planet, regardless of what you believe, regardless if you think that you were in West Africa or you were somewhere in Africa or you were in Egypt living a peaceful life, wherever you think you came from, you must acknowledge and understand that we did something wrong against the Most High God, which led us to this point. And we must also acknowledge that we are descendants of those people in the book who did something wrong against the Most High God. So once you acknowledge that, then you can start to come to the conclusion. And this is why the question is profound. Have we learned our lesson? Many of us have not learned the lesson, and sadly enough, will never learn the lesson because we're not willing to open the book which teaches us the lesson. We're not willing to go into the book which actually displays the lesson of captivity, the purpose of captivity, the reason why we're in slavery, the reason why we're in the bottom. No one wants to approach that book to get the answers. So the reality is that many of us will never learn the lesson because we won't approach the book, we won't go into the book, we won't deal with the iniquity or the sins of our forefathers, or even identify that the people in the book are our forefathers. So that's one way I would answer it. Of course, there's probably a billion ways someone would answer that question, but that's one way I would approach it.
Brother, Elder Lawya, you poignantly hit so many, so many. You hit the hammer on many nails on that one. But of course, we want to leave it wide open for those who've just come in. The psychological impact of slavery, right? Looking back at the conquest of our people at the hands of the Romans, because they did have a hand in our downfall, what behaviors can we now point to as a people that is a clear result of generational trauma? I mean, do we even look back constructively to realize the majority of our actions is due to a curse, due to a traumatic people people that have been under trauma for generations. Go again. What behaviors can we now point to as a people that is a clear result from generational trauma? Now, what I'm going to do in the second half, Elder Lawya, I'm going to go into the Bible also, and I have a book. I have a book called The Religious Instruction of the Negroes. Why am I going here? They knew, I'm speaking of the overlords that have set up Masons and others who established the Western world in this country, wizards and warlocks. They knew it would come a time that the Most High would begin to awaken our people throughout the four corners of the earth, and we would all cleave to the word of God once the seals were broken. They knew that that inherently our people would begin to come back to the words of God for answers. They knew that. So they had to inject themselves at a certain point of our trauma to make sure during that time of awakening, we would view the trauma through the lens that were set by them. We would view the Bible how they trained us to view it, to perpetuate the trauma. Now, the book would stand. They would keep the book there. But the trauma would be so deeply rooted, brothers and sisters, that it would come a time in which the Gentiles or the Romans would have to do nothing at all and just let the curse perpetuate itself within our people. Okay? That programming with hands off would still be in play, where the people would destroy each other, not viewing the word correctly, thereby not being able to see the trauma or understand that we can relate this to a cursed people. Hope you hear what I'm saying here, and I'm going to touch on it. The psychological impact of the curse. Do you realize, brothers and sisters, that we perpetuate or act out certain behaviors that are a direct result of slavery? And some of these behaviors, they're natural for us. We believe, it's just us being black. We believe it's just us, in the hood or the ghetto, and we just a byproduct of ourselves, that this has nothing to do with the generational curse, and our actions are normal. The psychological impact of the curse of slavery. I'm going to do it part 2 of this, and we're going to quantify and wrap this all up. Wait till you see where I'm going in 1 second. Hold tight. We're going to do one announcement, and then I'm coming right back with the psychological impact of the curse, slavery.
Are you seeking to strengthen your biblical foundation? Join us in the Hebrew Bible Academy, where we offer 12 weeks of in-depth learning in a structured environment. Receive real-time news from Brother Rawchaa and amazing lessons by Elder Rawchaa. Learn ancient Hebrew with Elder Lawya. With 12 amazing lessons, you are guaranteed to learn more about your true biblical history and authentic Hebrew language than you would in a traditional Christian church, for only a one-time payment of $150 or 3 monthly payments of $50. Join us at historytimes.org and sign up today. It's not too late. See you in the academy.
Okay, shalom, brothers and sisters, coming right back. I just want to announce that we are in the enrollment period for the next Hebrew and Bible Academy that will begin in a few weeks, okay? 12 full weeks of serious lessons. And brothers and sisters, we are now, right now, we're in the process of putting together brand new lessons for the academy. One we're going to go into is to break down that spirit. Okay, the Most High he created a spirit due to the curse or disobedience that came with the curse of Adam and Eve. And we're going to quantify that within the academy with the lesson, identifying that spirit that leaves, that starts at one generation and begins over when our children are born. That inherent spirit goes from generation to generation, and it affects relationships. Okay? It affects relationships like you wouldn't believe. And we're going to go into breaking down what that spirit is and how to overcome it within family and stay together. That's going to be one lesson. Another lesson we're doing, UFOs and the Bible. Who lives amongst us will be another lesson, showing you what they call extraterrestrial intervention with man, all through the Bible. UFOs and the Bible will also be one of those serious lessons that we will have in the academy. So you don't want to miss it. It's every Sunday. Elder Lawya starts out with the Hebrew 101. Shapad and I go into the news, breaking down real-time news, showing you how it's affecting our people prophetically, giving you insight on what's going on with the pharmaceutical companies, how they're putting us down through Agenda 21. Okay, how they're really taking us out under a depopulation program. And guess what? They are winning. I'm speaking of the powers that be. Okay, they are winning. We are being put down. That's what the war on cancer is. It's putting people down, culling the fat, getting rid of whom they would call the ignorant or the useless eaters first, before they aim their sight towards the righteous of this awakening. Getting rid of the side fat, those who are really in the way, who they deem the useless eaters, before they focus on the righteous and those who the Most High have awakened in this earth to do this work. And do what? Wake up the 12 tribes of Israel in this spiritual war. So the news, we have the news, which is the second segment, and the third segment, of course, you open up your email, you get your PDF, and follow our lessons. One lesson is never the same. Never the same. A matter of fact, I received a letter from someone. Thank you. Received a letter today from a sister who said, thank you. I've been in 12 academies, and gave me this beautiful pennant that goes around the neck that says Judah. I'm gonna wear it one of these days. But thank you for your participation. And you might ask, why has she been in 12 separate academies if some of the lessons are the same? Well, you would have to be in to understand not one lesson is the same. It's new from one week to the next. It's only $50 a month, and the money goes towards setting up churches and finishing the work, spreading the gospel, because traveling isn't free. Okay, $50 a month. You can send an email if you would like to enroll. We have people working right now for the enrollment. Send an email to gatheringas1, the number 1, at AOL.com, or go to gatheringofchrist.org or historytimes.org. Okay, now jumping right back in, it's time to bring some resolve to all of this. Okay, some resolve. Can any of us point to the psychological impact of slavery? Right? One moment. Can any of us point to the psychological impact of slavery? Looking back at the conquest of our people, hundreds of years, this conquest by the Romans, what behaviors can we now point to as a people that is a clear result of slavery? What attributes? I wouldn't say attributes. What behaviors can we attribute to our trauma? Okay. And how is that resolved in Scripture? How do we resolve that in Scripture? All right. Now, let me jump right in now. Elder Lawya, I need you to grab your Bible real quick.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I need you to hold that. And just to give you a date for the Hebrew and Bible Academy, for those who would like to know, the Hebrew and Bible Academy starts Sunday, June 23rd, 2019, of course. June 23rd, you can enroll today to reserve your seats at historytimes.org. And our enrollment ends the 21st. So you have to get in within that enrollment period. You don't want to miss this, okay? And please don't be last minute. If you're going to enroll, send your emails or go to historytimes.org and enroll immediately so that we're not working around the clock in the last hour on the 21st to get the last people in, okay? Wanted to put that out there. And thank you. All right, jumping right in. How many people we have here? I wanted to set it up for this period we're in now. All right, one moment. Okay, we have 1,200 people, and of course, hit the like button, brothers and sisters, so that other people can come in. It drives the traffic here, so they'll know the Gathering of Christ Church is actually broadcasting live. Okay, the psychological impact, right, of slavery. Now, Elder Lawya, there's a conspiracy that I pull out almost every week. Let's go to the conspiracy. Psalms, the 83rd chapter. Elder Lawya, because you made a point, Elder Lawya. The point you made earlier is that you don't believe our people realize they're under a curse or were enslaved. Mm-hmm. You notice how the Jewish people and other races, when it comes to something that can be deemed generational, traumatic on a generational level, that they make sure they keep that before their children's psyche and understanding through education and otherwise. You notice how the Jewish people will say over and over again, never forget the Holocaust. How those that suffered under Hiroshima and Nagasaki remind their children over and over again about the trauma. Okay, to rally them, okay, in uniformity against any future destruction that may come on their people. But you would think that our people never suffered captivity. It's our people more so when you talk to them about what's going on, Elder Lawya, would answer you with, well, that was a long time ago. That really doesn't have an impact on us today. Slavery is just a long time ago. It's not a big deal. Without even realizing everything we're witnessing in our communities is a direct result of that trauma. It's just that the majority of our people don't know that trauma was prophesied out of the Bible. It's called a curse. And if they realize it was their people, or they are a direct result of that curse, they would need to change. Understanding that you are the people of God, suffering a curse on earth comes with a certain level of responsibility. Now, all the things that we experience and enjoy, right, through our freedom, that we celebrate as freedom, we would need to give up. Okay? A lot of us don't know. A lot of us don't know, folks, brothers, especially, I'm not going to say one gender or the next. Our people don't realize, brothers and sisters, as a whole, that we're suffering a curse. But let's go to the conspiracy. Elder Lawya, go to Psalms 83 for me real quick, and the first verse.
Yes, sir. This is Psalms chapter 83, verse 1.
Come on.
Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
It says, they that hate thee have lifted up the heads. Now, those that hate the Most High are the Gentile nations serving other gods in false religion. These are all the people, the magistrates, the powers of this earth who hate the God of the Bible. They conspired together once God's people fell. Once our people fell, the Gentile leaders came together. Now they realize, okay, the people must suffer a curse, so we can't utterly destroy these people. The hand of God is on them to protect them from one generation to the next until the promise is fulfilled and a remnant of them come back to God and be reestablished. So they knew, the Gentiles, that they couldn't utterly just kill us off. Right? But they needed to set a system in place of control during the curse period. During the period in which our people would be disconnected from our homeland and our God for a certain number of years. So they realized they had the power of influence to at least, brothers and sisters, educate us. They had the power to educate us, right? And by doing so, disconnecting us from our true purpose and our God. So they all came together knowing that, okay, we can't kill them right now. But yes, we can program them. Let's program them against themselves. Listen to this. Come on.
Verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
It says they have taken crafty counsel. I'm in Psalms 83. They have taken crafty counsel against the people of God in the Bible. What is that counsel? Read.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
And it says they have consulted against the hidden ones of God. The people who have no idea of their power and regal nature. They have no idea that they are the people of promise. All the true information that leads them back to prominence has been hidden. Let's consult against the hidden ones. Read.
Verse 4. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Hold up. Let us cut them off from being a nation of people. Let's cut them off from understanding they are a race. Because if they're able to relate themselves to a nation, they'll understand that nation is cursed, come back to their God, repent, and receive their power once again. So we need to cut them off from being a nation. So have them find respect and honor through a word like black. Let's make them believe, have them think and celebrate that they're black people or African people. Because there's no place they'll be able to go into their book where the curse is written and relate themselves to the curse. Because the Bible didn't say that God would curse black people or African people or African American people or Puerto Ricans or Mexicans or Haitians. So let us cut them off from being a nation and let them celebrate these other bywords and false names. Let them celebrate their captivity by having Latino pride, Haitian pride, Black American pride, African pride. Because there's no place in the Bible one can go to and say, well, God cursed these people that are being celebrated amongst them. So it says here, in this conspiracy written of in the Bible, all nations sitting at a table saying what? Let us cut them off from being a nation of people, a race. Let's separate them. Where each of the tribes will believe they're an entirely different race altogether. Black people will think they're black and look at their plight and rally together under that, not even realizing that black is a color. Latinos will celebrate being mixed and conquered by being celebrated. They're celebrating them being lighter than us and making their own name called Latino. And they'll never be able to go back to the curse and realize Latinos aren't written in the Bible. They'll never realize that they are suffering the same curse as the black people they're looking down on. Because they'll just have Latino pride. Same thing with the Haitians. Same thing with the Africans. Read.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
They conspired. The conspiracy was to take the name of Israel from these people. That the name of Israel be no more in their memory. Because now, if you understand that your dysfunctions and your trauma is a direct result of a curse that happened to Israel in the Bible, you'll begin to seek that God who put you under the trauma and ask why. Why? You would seek that same God for answers, and he'll answer you through what? The word. I only did it to you, child, my children, due to your disobedience. You disobeyed me. And a God, a true God, chasteneth those that he loveth. The Most High is only bound by his word. And in his word, the Most High gave God's people, us, blessings and curses. Rulership, if we obey and follow his commandments, and a curse of slavery if we disobey. Right? Let us cut them off from being a nation. Here's the conspiracy. That the name of Israel be no more in our minds. Let them celebrate being African. They'll never find that curse with African pride. They'll just stay in a perpetual wheel cycle, a destitute cycle of destruction. Because in order to come out of this, brothers and sisters, we have to understand from whence we fell. We have to understand that history. Right? Come on.
Yes, sir. Verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent.
All of the nations, even to this day, led by the EU and the UN, have consulted together with one consent. And this is not just a political conspiracy, folks. All of these nations together are part of a spiritual, folks, syndicate. It's a spiritual syndicate, folks. It's the East Indians, which is actually celebrating or worshiping the ancient Babylonian religion. It's the Chinese under Hindu, which is ancient Babylonian. It's Judaism, which is ancient Babylonian. It's Islam, which is Persian mythology, ancient Babylonian. And modern day Christianity, which isn't Christianity at all. It's Babylonian at the core. That's why they worship on Sundays. And they celebrate the goddess of Star. That's why they celebrate December 25th, which is the birth of Tammuz or Nimrod incarnate. Folks, the conspiracy is being led by wizards, warlocks, and sorcerers, a spiritual syndicate to keep the brainwashing going on God's people. Let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. So when they come to serve God or look for God, the Gentile sorcerers and programmers will be their guides. Nowhere in any religion can these people find out that they're the people of the curse or the children of Israel who have been conspired against. It was right in the Bible the whole time, folks, that their core weapon against us is concealing the true name and our identity, making sure they keep that information of us being Israelites from us. Right? Come on.
Verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent.
They are together with one consent, folks. Read.
They are confederate against thee.
And they are a confederate against thee. And then the Bible begins to name those who are a part of this conspiracy to actually keep us from the knowledge of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Brothers and sisters, why do you think no one on earth can break down the Bible like Israelites in the earth? No one. The Gentiles can't break down this book like us. We were always the people, folks. We were always the people. And they knew it the whole time. But it's through our disobedience that gives the Gentiles power. It's not their might, their military force. It's not that they're smart or intelligent. It has nothing to do with their intellect or IQ, folks. It has everything to do with a curse. As long as we disobey, the Gentiles stay on top. Our dysfunction is their kingdom. You understand? Our dysfunction, let me tell you, they have us just operating normally under the dysfunction and have us perpetuate and celebrate the dysfunction to the degree in which the Gentiles will pay us to celebrate our dysfunctions. Why? Because our dysfunctions leads to their rulership, their continual rulership. The minute we come back together under that nation and follow that God, the Gentiles' rule will end. Their rule would be over. And they know it. So who's keeping the nations over us? We are. Because our God is bound by his word. A blessing if we obey, and a curse if we disobey. And we've become the children of disobedience. What we see, the dysfunction in our neighborhoods, is a generational curse due to this conspiracy I'm reading right now. The Gentiles don't have to do nothing but just let the dysfunction continue, but make sure we don't relate the dysfunctions to a curse against the children of Israel and tie two and two together. See? Are you following me here? Let's name the two top conspirators who are against us, Elder Lawya, who've conspired against us till this day. Psalms 83, read it. Read the verse.
Sir. Yes, sir. Psalms chapter 83, verse 6.
Come on.
The tabernacles of Edom.
The tabernacles of Edom. The Edomites, who are the Romans or who are the modern day Jewish hierarchy, are at the top of the conspiracy. What better way to hide the nation of Israel than becoming the nation of Israel? What better way to hide it from black people than making them believe that the Israelites were always white? the tabernacles of Edom. Edom lost the birthright and he lost the blessing. He believed, since he was the firstborn, that the world belonged to him. So once we fell, he was able to take dominion by default. And as a form of disobedience, the Most High God allowed Edom to come against us as fast as the eagle flieth. He became us. And then he set up schools. He set up temples. Really, these are Roman temples, these so-called schools, to keep us disconnected. He would educate us. And then he would pay. Zionism would pay modern day Christian leaders, because Christian churches have been infiltrated by the Zionists, would pay them to teach, it doesn't matter who you are in the earth, God loves you anyway, while they stake claim to the nation of Israel. Let us cut them off from being the nation. Edom is at the top of that conspiracy. Who's next, Elder Lawya?
And the Ishmaelites.
And the Ishmaelites, the Arabs. The Arabs are second in the conspiracy. These are the two families that are over the Babylonian religions of Christianity and Islam. And who have they targeted through their ministries? They've always targeted us. There's no need for them to be over, I'm speaking of the Europeans, over in Rome trying to convert people in Rome to Christianity. 90% of the people in Italy and Rome are Catholic. There's no need for Arabs to try to convince other Arabs to be Muslims. I lived over in the Middle East, and almost 100% of the people there in the Middle East, in Egypt, and different parts of the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia, are Muslim. Who have they targeted? The Bible is showing you the spiritual warlocks that's over our psychosis. They became our religious leaders to disconnect us and keep us disconnected from our God. And they would make sure they would teach what? They would teach that servitude under them, only servitude under these particular races, would lead to any level of rest from our slavery, would lead to heaven if we would just serve them. Edom and Ishmael. Come on, Elder Lawya. Go down to the end, because, of course, all the other races were there with them.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go straight. Go ahead.
Verse 12. Who said, "Let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession."
So listen to this clearly. So if we cut them off from being a nation, we can then take them into what? Read that again.
Who said, "Let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession."
Let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession. Let's enslave them. See? If they don't know that they're Israelites, they don't know that they were born to be free and that all nations were supposed to serve them. But if they believe they're black, if they believe they're black Christians or African American or Muslims or Buddhist, by default, Gentiles were meant to serve. So if they think they're Gentiles, they'll have to serve us as long as they believe they're Gentiles. Because it was prophesied according to their God that the Gentiles would serve Israel. See? Let us take to the houses, let's take the house of Israel in possession. while they're in this psychosis or trauma called slavery. Are you following me here? Now, so here's the question, folks, and I'm going to read this. Here's the question, right? Listen to this. Some people might ask, well, we used to ask, well, why is it that pastors and preachers and others who know the word of God, how is it these particular leaders and preachers and teachers, thousands of years, hundreds of years of clergy, how is it they haven't come to this conclusion after all these years? Why haven't they come to this conclusion or taught this doctrine that's being taught amongst black people right now concerning us being Israelites? Why? They have a Bible. They've always had the Bible. Christ answered that question. Christ says in Mark 7:7, get that for me, Lawya. Because I'm going to put this out there. Why? Because many of our people have walked away from the Bible altogether, believing that the white man and Gentiles use the Bible to enslave us. That wasn't so. They didn't use the Bible to enslave us. They used a false doctrine with the Bible as a prop to enslave us, to make us believe what they was espousing, what they were actually expounding upon was in the word. We believe what they were teaching was out of the word. Many of our people throughout the earth have put the Bible down and say, I'm done with religion altogether because they use the Bible to enslave us. No. I'm going to show you what they used. Christ warned us of these wicked men who would use the Bible as a prop but teach false doctrine. Read Mark 7:7, Elder Lawya.
Sir, Mark chapter 7, verse 7.
Come on.
Howbeit, in vain do they worship me.
He says, Christ says, in vain do they worship me. He says, what? He says here, howbeit in vain do they worship me. Vain means vanity, nothing, no worth. These Christian pastors, a lot of them, some of them start off with good intentions, but a lot of them are deceived. And it's totally vanity. It says, howbeit in vain do they worship me. Let's see what this vanity is Christ is speaking about, brothers and sisters. Read.
Teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
Teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. That's the vain doctrine that came through the Gentile Christian churches. They taught us to do away with God's law and taught to fear God. Check this out. By having us follow them and honor them and follow and honor their law above God's. Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandment of men. Brothers and sisters, I have a book before me that a brother gave me in Florida called The Religious Instruction of the Negroes in the United States. Now, in a nutshell, let me give you some of the chapters in here. Charles Colcock Jones wrote down in detail, right, the clergy's conspiracy while we were enslaved in America. How to keep our people enslaved through doctrine. They would keep who we were from us as far as the religious understanding of when it came to the relative similitude of our slavery, and similitude with ancient Egypt. They would keep it from us. Not just us, the Puerto Ricans, the North American Indians, all of us were programmed the same way. Not to view the Old Testament in relation to our current state and condition. That's why the Christian churches began to teach, don't worry about the Old Testament. Leave it alone. That's old stuff. You just follow Jesus. In vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines, the commandments of men. Check out this, folks. And I'm just going to read a little bit. I'm going to read some of the titles in here. And all this information is documented on how to keep a slave, right? By using sorcery, witchcraft, and mainly Christian doctrine. Listen to this. Check this out, brothers. I'm going to read a few of the titles. On page 71, part 2, it reads, "The moral and the religious conditions of the Negroes in the United States." That's some key information. I'm going to read some of it. "Disadvantages to be encountered prosecuting an inquiry into the moral and religious conditions on the Negroes in the United States." Right? Here's more. "Historical sketch of the religious instructions of the Negroes from their first introduction into the country in 1620 to the year 1842. They were charting, brothers and sisters, they were charting us from one generation to the next and documenting it and basing everything off of what? How they would control us religiously to disconnect us from us being Israelites. Now, mind you, it just wasn't the clergy, folks. It wasn't no independent pastors. This particular conspiracy came from the American government along with the Roman government. They set up pastors in our churches to teach our people, folks, how to stay under this religious programming that's written of in this book. The conspiracy I read in Psalms 83 is spelled out in the United States law. How to keep them from understanding that they are the children of Israel according to the Bible. Listen to this. Let me get it. Circumstances of the Negro which affect their moral and religious condition. So they studied us morally, our condition. So they knew our impulses. They were studying us, folks. We were like guinea pigs to them. They would study our impulses. They first used the history of the Bible to understand our character in relation to our God. So they began to do what? Folks, they began to program us to desire sin. And that was taught within their doctrine. Like they would say, for instance, oh, you can eat whatever you would like. Just pray over it. Right? They would say, celebrate this day and celebrate that day, knowing historically how those particular practices actually led to us serving them. And guess what? All of these things are broken down in this book here. It says, the obligations of the Church of Christ to attempt the improvement of the moral and religious condition of the Negroes in the United States by affording them the gospel. By affording them the gospel, not the gospel according to Christ, the commandments of men. Let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. So they began to teach us, folks. They began to teach us a new understanding of what you would call morality. And those standards weren't God's standards. A slave is only moral, right, if they continue to follow and serve their master. And they begin to inherently place this in the doctrine. I wanted to put that out there. Now, I'm going to touch on a few of these in the book in about 10 minutes. And it's going to hit all the way home. But I wanted to go into this, folks, that the religious instruction of the Negroes, how they wouldn't even use the Bible. They would use psychology and the study of Israelites. They would study the Israelites, our disobedience and what lead us to sin, and teach that as part of the doctrine to keep us perpetually under their curse. They actually wrote it down on exactly how to do it. And this is a handbook for slave masters. And what they taught the clergy to do and the pastors to do, the pastors are doing the same exact prototypical established teachings. The pastors are doing the same cycle wickedness that you read in this book. I'm speaking of T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollar. I'm speaking of what's the guy that controlled them all, Elder Lawyer? The handler for them all.
You talking about
Kenneth Copeland.
Yes. Yeah.
All of the programming that came through the masters of the Roman Empire, their sorcerers and priests, who set up clergy, the whole established setup to control our people is in here. And it's being used today by Oprah, Kenneth Copeland, all of the top leaders, Joel Osteen. They're using the same program to cut us off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. And I'm going to bring some points out of this. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's too detailed to actually go through each point. But I'll also be teaching this in the academy. How to break us from the psychosis that came with Christian Darba. Okay. One moment. Someone said Magdal Copeland. I'm going to go over a few of these in a moment. But for those who've just come in, we're at 1245. The psychological impact of the curse of slavery. Looking back at the conquest of the South Americans, as well as the transatlantic slave trade at the hands of the Romans, what behaviors can we now point to as a people that is a clear result of the generational trauma? I'm going to take a few calls and I'm going to go through this book and break down a few of those things in there. One moment. 515-605-9327. 315 area code first.
Salwan, Elder, we spoke earlier.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Let me go to the next person here. 910 area code. The psychological impact of the curse. Shalom, 910, you're live with the Gathering of Christ Church. The psychological impact of the curse, which is slavery. Let's talk candid. How has slavery affected us? Looking back at the conquest of the South Americans as well as the transatlantic slave trade at the hands of the Romans, what behaviors can we now point to as a people that we can say is a clear result of our captivity? You're live.
Hello?
You're live with the Gathering of Christ Church. Come on.
Hello?
You're live with the Gathering of Christ Church.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, ma'am. You're live.
Oh, Shalom, Elder.
Shalom.
I would thinking that the Edomites can do no wrong, that they're over us and they can't do anything wrong. We're lowly and they're not.
I understand,
They
sister.
see them as God because of the Caesar Borgia image that's put in front of them.
Yes, sister, but what I'm asking you here is what behaviors can we now point to as a people that is a clear result?
What behavior?
Yeah. We know what they did. They conspired against us. We are living a perpetual curse,
Yeah, I
sister.
would say our behavior in general, just the rejection of the fact that we did something wrong, and so did they. But as far as we're concerned, we didn't do anything. We're fine.
Okay, sister, I'm going to place you on hold. We're gonna go to the next call. Let me place you on hold. We're going to go to the next call here. Great point. Question again. The psychological impact of the curse. How has slavery affected us? And we're going to pivot this way, right? What constructively can we take from what happened to us to become better and come together under the Most High? To be better and come together as a nation. Is there anything positive we can take from what happened to us? What say you? 701 area code.
Shalom, over.
Shalom, you're live with the Gathered of Christ Church.
All right. Well, I'd like to start by asking, are you familiar with metaphysics?
Am
The
I?
world's definition of it.
You're asking, am I familiar with metaphysics?
Yeah.
I'm familiar with it, but I don't understand from what angle you're asking me.
Well, you know how the Bible states that we're supposed to live by faith, not by sight.
Okay, but the floor is yours.
And okay, so with us going through slavery and being indoctrinated this way, that we're the third, we've been separated from our spirits. So, personally, growing up, I never knew my cardinal direction, north, east, south, and west. And whenever I would go around Edom, and I'm at a work site or anything, they'd be like, get on the highway and head north along this road or, that byway, yada, yada, whoop-de-whoop. So without having that connection with my spirit, we're all just walking in our flesh. We have no direction from what constitutes as us. They'll go into, your psyche, this is your mind, your psyche. But our psyche, as they call it, is our actual soul. So with that direction that we had at a point in time, when we were connected to our own spirits and we knew who we were as a people, we had a direction. But now that we're disconnected, as soon as I came into the truth, I learned my cardinal directions. It was crazy. And beforehand, my spirit felt lost, as well as my flesh. We were both separate. I was myself, my psyche was just something I had no idea. Like, what's that? Okay, well, I'll figure it out one day. But now that I'm in the truth, and I've come to the understanding of, why they taught us the way they taught us against ourselves, and then we're teaching us against our flesh, but against our spirit, because our spirit is what's going to connect with the Most High to get us through Jacob's trouble and everything.
Okay, brother, I understand that, but what
So
I'm
as
asking,
long as
I'm trying to keep it on track so that, let me reel this back, okay? Because I believe the answers I'm getting, it's ironic the answers I'm getting, because we can't get a direct answer, can we?
there is no right answer.
But there is.
That's the thing.
But there is.
Okay.
All right. See, but the question is the psychological impact of the curse, right? Looking back at our condition, what behavior can you now point to as a people that is clear? That's a clear result of the curse.
Ignorance.
Ignorance is a direct result of the curse. That's a good one. If there's anything positive you can get out of what happened, slavery, what would that be?
Well, just like when you catch a cold, your body fights it off and you come back stronger. So with us having been in that curse, and once we learn how to connect back to our, as you said in the previous broadcast, we have to gain control of our vessel. Once we, the people, learn how to gain control of our vessels and our own psyches, and we can operate in oneness and newness of spirit, I think it'll be a phenomenon that 90% of Israel hasn't even come to the realization yet.
Okay.
We'll be.
Okay. Well, thank you, brother. Great points. I'm going to place you on hold. You did bring out some good points. And I'm going to go to the next call, okay? Great points.
All
right, bless you. Okay, we have a few people online. A lot of people are waiting. The psychological impact of the curse, which is slavery. Let's be candid. How has slavery affected us? Looking back after generational curses, we should be able to quantify the actions in our current society, the ills that are going on amongst us, and we should be able to relate that as being a people under exile or a curse, right? What can we point to our actions and whatever we're dealing with in our communities, the dysfunctions? What dysfunction can we point out? That's a direct result of captivity. 678 area code.
Yes. Hello, Elder.
You're live with the Gathering of Christ Church.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Do me a favor. Can you turn off?
Elder.
Yes. Can you turn off my broadcast in the background because I'm getting feedback, please?
Oh, okay. Okay, how's that?
That's good. You're live with the Gathering of Christ Church. This is the psychological impact of the curse, slavery. Let's be candid. How has slavery affected us? And what behaviors can we now point to as a people that is a clear result of our generational trauma?
What I've seen, the direct effect of us is that just from the profession that I've worked in, being in administration, it has made us very timid, very timid. We're afraid to speak. We're afraid to be ourselves. And what I have seen that works best with me, when our people walk in the door and I see this numbing effect, I immediately try and recognize what's happening to them. and I try and build courage and speak directly. And I tell you, some of the things that even after, let's just say, I've even seen where I've hired some Arab people, and but they have stereoed themselves so bad until it's damaging, even to try and bring them up in the administrative part or to give them a promotion. So we have to be apt to even know ourselves what's happened with the curse, recognize that where it came from, what's going on with inside of us. We got to know what's going on inside of us and work from there. Admit it. The curse is on us, but the Word of God tells us how to get the curse off of us. Marching will not do it. Guns will not do it. The expectations that's given to us, I notice, if something is really rude said, the first thing we become is rambunctious. And like you said earlier, Elder, because I'm black, you don't talk to me like that. You don't know what I've been through. Well, do you really understand what you've been through, and you're about to go through that same thing? And there's got to be a way to stop it. And I have even come to the side and group with some of our people and try to speak with them and say, look, this is where the problem keeps coming in at. I want to keep you, but this is where the problem keeps coming in at. But it's always, they want to go and blame Esau. Somewhere along the way, get a grip. We're the cursed people, but there's a way out. And we can get out. But what you got to do, you got to read the word and accept it for what it is. Accept it. It is for what it is.
Okay.
And
okay, sister.
I want to say, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What I do see that it's been highly, highly effective. Now, the neighborhood I live in is mainly white. But I have learned to adjust to how to manage myself because the expectations you expect out of me, they're not there anymore. I've read the word. I know who I am. I know who you are, but it doesn't mean we can't live together. I will not live inferior just because you expect that. And what I have noticed, GOCC, in the small area that we live, it is more known than what I knew. And I continuously spread it, but it's how my husband and I look at your daily. And we're learning that even you have to learn them, the whites, the blacks, the Latinos, because we deal with everybody, how to work with everybody. Know who you are, and you'll know how to function.
Well, thank you, sister. Thank you, sister. I'm going to put you on hold. Great point you've mentioned, and thank you for being a part of the work. Thank you for being a part of the work. And we're about to pull it. We're about to pull it full circle, bring it around full circle. You wouldn't believe what I'm about to bring out of this book. Okay, I think I have drummed up the anticipation long enough. Okay, I'm about to bring it out. Right, the moral and religious condition of the Negroes in the United States. I'm gonna bring it out in 1 second. Okay, Elder Lawya, I need you to take calls. Take about 2 calls, and I'll be back with this information. You wouldn't believe what I'm about to bring out of this book, folks. And it links directly to the psychological impact of the curse that we're still exhibiting till this day. Hold tight, and I'm going to read what the Gentile powers over religion knew in the 1600s concerning our people. After studying us, not as blacks or Africans, but as Israelites, it's going to shock you. Elder, take a call. I just got to go to the restroom and come right back, all right?
Yes, sir, absolutely. Absolutely. And before we bring in the next call, just to comment on the last sister's call, I think it was very profound, sister mentioning that the curses in the programming post-captivity is so deep that even if you try to some degree, uplift and put our people in a position to be able to operate with some dignity, we're so wired against ourselves that we find a way to actually destroy or minimize whatever we've been blessed with the little position or the little bit that we receive in this kingdom. But I thought that was very profound that the sister brought that out. But we're going to go to the next caller. This is 701. Last four digits 7720. You're live on Blog Talk. All right, again, area code 701, last four digits 7720. You're live on Blog Talk.
Lawya, I have it.
Okay.
The water. You can put it back on hold.
All right.
Oh, I got it. I am back. That was pretty quick. All right. 1 second here. Okay, for those who've just come in, I see new people just jumped in. All right, I want to put this out there real quick. The discussion today, this evening, the psychological impact of the curse of slavery. Okay. What behaviors can we now point to as a direct result of what we experienced here in America or abroad? Being destroyed by the Gentiles. And as a result of that, going into captivity. That's trauma right there, right? That's traumatic. Of course, it would damage us and leave a negative psychological impact on generations to come. What are we exhibiting within our communities right now that we can point directly to and say, you know what? This happened to us, and I think this way and I act like this because of what my forefathers went through here in slavery. Right? Let's go down the list here. 515-605-9327 is the number, and you have 30 minutes to get in. You have about 30 minutes to come in, okay? So if you're going to call in and if you have a point or question or comment, it'll take you 30 minutes to get in before the lines are cut, okay? Let me go down the line here. 609 area code.
Oh, yes.
Shalom. You're live with the Gathering of Christ Church.
Let me make sure I mute you in the background so you can't hear. Okay.
Okay. Is he there? Okay, let's go to the next call. 561 area code. Shalom, you're live with the Gathering of Christ Church.
Shalom, Elder.
The psychological impact of the curse. You're live.
Hello?
You're live with the Gathering of Christ Church.
Hello?
You're live. You can't hear us?
Hello? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're live.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So I want to say what we take away from slavery is I really think one of the things is denial. I think what we can learn from it is ownership. One of the things that stick out to me from the Bible is how when we learn the word that we have to self-reflect and we have to own it in order to make corrections in our life to be better, to be righteous. If we can own up to the things that we're doing, we can make those corrections and be better. But from slavery is the denial, the race war and everything like that. And we can't even see that we are the people of the Bible to make those changes, to be righteous.
Great points. Great points. Let me ask you, sister, how long have you knew the truth concerning our forefathers being the children of Israel, that we are a direct result of the curse? How long have you known?
I want to say it's only been 2 years.
How did you find out?
And honestly, it was
how did you find out?
A lot of it was often.
How did you find out?
Honestly, the church. Your videos.
Online?
A friend of mine shared a video with me.
Praise the Most High. A friend of yours shared one of our videos.
Yes.
All praises.
And it was like an eye-opener and answered all questions that I was seeking. I didn't understand the world. I needed answers. And the Most High literally led a path, and it led me right to the sister, and all the questions were beginning to answer. Everything made sense. Understanding. Everything clicked. And it's just, he continues to deliberate. He continues to bless me. All praises to him.
All praises be to the Most High. All right, sister, I'm going to place you on hold because I told everyone I would drop the bomb once I got back from my quick break, and I have a few announcements. So let me drop this real quick, and I hope you're listening. Hope you're listening.
Of course. Thank you.
You're welcome. Stay on hold because you want to hear this. Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir.
Remember earlier how you were stating that it seemed as if our people fantasize our slavery as far as before the white man came, and tried to romanticize how great we had it in Africa and how great we were until the white man came and did what he did against us?
Right.
How we try to make it seem as if we were in paradise and all that before the white man came?
Mm-hmm.
And I know people don't want to hear this. I was checking out this book earlier today, and it blew me away. Right? They began to set up certain religious teachings, folks. Believe it or not. Now, they would cut us off from being a nation under it. But they constructed certain teachings, folks, to try to help us to some degree, because what they exhibited in Africa and other areas was straight immorality. Check this out. They came to the shores of Africa within some of the villages. Even when they came to South America, they witnessed a high rate, and it was documented, of immorality amongst the indigenous people. A high rate of immorality. You notice, Elder Lawya, when we talk about slavery and we bring it out on the streets and all that, the white man or the other nations would try to come back with, you don't know your history. You don't understand what you all were doing to each other.
Right. Exactly.
That you were selling each other, and that a lot of things that you were doing is being ignored and blamed on white people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to read this real quick. Listen to me. It says, the moral and religious condition of the Negro in the United States. Disadvantages to be encountered in prosecuting an inquiry into the moral and religious conditions of the Negroes. A knowledge of the moral and religious condition of the Negroes is essential to correct feeling and action thereto. Until we arrive at such knowledge and have it pressed upon our serious consideration, we shall have no just sense of obligation. We shall feel no criminality for past neglect, no disposition for future amendment, nor shall we be able to adopt plans for their improvement, as we must necessarily become acquainted with the nature and extent of a disease before we can hopefully prescribe for it. So they had to shape the religion that would one day be called Christianity today. Right? Listen to this. That an inquiry into the moral and religious condition of the Negro population of the United States may be prosecuted with success admits of no question that yet whether we live at the North or at the South. Notwithstanding, we enjoy favorable advantages for the inquiry. We certainly labor under some serious disadvantages, which threaten to impair the faithfulness with which it should be prosecuted and answered. Nay, these disadvantages may exert such an influence upon some that admitting the inquiry to the prosecuted and answered according to the truth, that they may withhold assent. These disadvantages, therefore, demand consideration. They arise in general out of intimate and long continued connection with this people. Now listen to this. Habits of feeling and prejudice in relation to any subject are wont to take the rise out of our education and circumstances. Every man knows their influence to be great in shaping opinions and conduct, and oftentimes how unwillingly they are formed. That while we may unconscious of their existence, that they may grow with our growth and strengthen with our strength, familiarity converts deformity into comeliness. Hence, we are not always the best judges of our condition. Another may remark inconveniences and indeed real evils in it, in which we may be said to have been all our lives scarcely conscious. So also evils which upon first acquaintance revolted of our whole nature and appeared intolerable. Listen to this clearly. Custom almost makes us forget even to see. Men passing out of the state of society into another encounter 1,000 things which they feel that they can never be reconciled. Yet shortly, things to which they feel they can never be reconciled, their sensibilities become dull. A change passes over them that they scarcely know how. They have accommodated themselves to their new circumstances and relations. They are Romans in Rome. So they had to disconnect us so that we can appear to be Romans. But in order to do so, they had to tap into first our immorality. I need y'all to check this out. They tapped into what we were already doing wrong. As you see that, Lawya?
Yes, sir.
They took us off the shores of Africa. They didn't perpetuate or focus on the positives within us. They could control us if they can perpetuate the evil in us. And they put that in the doctrine of Christianity to keep us forever in a perpetual curse, and we'll teach ourselves the curse, even if they back away from us altogether. They started off, Elder Lawya, by focusing on the immorality they seen amongst us. Understanding that that was a trait that was prophesied out of the Bible. We was cursed due to our disobedience. So they focused on the disobedience and made that part of the doctrine being taught to us in America, in our captive lands. Check that out. They tapped into our dysfunction. Why am I saying this, folks? Brothers and sisters, we blame the white man for everything that's wrong with us, not realizing they used our disobedience, studied us, and actually taught us to continue that disobedience in the Christian church. Folks, I need you to see this. They actually put that and morphed that in the doctrine of Christianity, okay, by first examining our immorality and saying, you know what? These are the things the Romans do naturally. Homosexuality, pedophilia. They found us doing a lot of these things ourselves, folks, in Africa and as well as America.
Mm-hmm.
What say you, Elder Lawyer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Spot on. You know, it's spot on, and it's evident. Even reading Scripture, you know, there's a reason why we ended up in Africa in the first place. There's a reason why our people in the Americas, when you go to the book of 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter, their inspiration when traveling over the shores to America, they said that they made a promise amongst themselves to keep the commandments that they never kept in their own land. Speaking about the 10 tribes. So there's a reason why we've been spread throughout the 4 corners of the earth. It's because we broke those commandments that we had in the land of Israel in the first place. And we had spots, of course, we had moments of grandeur where we tried to restore righteousness. But shortly after, we deviated back into the old way of sinning against the Most High God. And, you know, the nations coming across us and finding us in that state, it was open game for the nations to come and just continue to play upon what was already naturally taking place amongst us.
That's how they shape Christianity, modern day Christianity. Elder Lawyer. So we look at it wrong. We examine it wrong in a way in which when we talk about the white man's slavery, captivity, we examine it from a victim viewpoint. Right? But they knew the whole time that we were under their hand, that the Most High put us under them because of our disobedience. So in order for them to stay rulers and to have power over us, they had to take the disobedience that was witnessed amongst our people and add it within the doctrine of Christianity to keep us enslaved. They did this to the North American Indians. They did it to us. They did it to the Puerto Ricans. They did it to the Africans. After studying us and psychoanalyzing us, they said, you know what? These people love to do evil. Well, let's do this. Let's make evil a part of the doctrine that keeps them under us. So we're going to teach them continually to keep on sinning, and by doing so, be in perpetual war against their own God. We're going to teach them that it's okay to eat what you want, even though they knew better. We're going to teach them to celebrate our holy days as Romans, even though these people know better. You can't blame the white man if you were doing it before he arrived. And I know I know we're going to get a lot of pushback for dropping this, but they found us disobedient, folks. When they came over here to the Americas, they found the Aztecs and the Mayans. They found them, Elder Lawyer, throwing babies in volcanoes.
Right.
They found them sacrificing people. They found us acting uncivilized and doing evil against our God, and figured, you know what? A lot of what they're doing here, we haven't seen them in a long time, but a lot of what they're doing is related to Roman heathenism. So it's what we're used to doing anyway. So let's add this within Christianity to control them and keep them at perpetual spiritual war against their God. Now, there's other diabolical things that they did outside of that, but that the Gentiles did in their false doctrine. But that doesn't help us. What helps us is understanding what we're doing wrong. We can always point to what the white man is doing. But it seems as if when we look at the dysfunction in our neighborhoods and what's going on, we immediately related to slavery, folks. So that's why I name this particular topic a specific way. The psychological impact of the curse of slavery, knowing that most people would have believed that this behavior we are exhibiting came out of slavery. And it didn't. It didn't. A lot of the behavior we're dealing with was due to the disobedience, the same disobedience we dealt with in the wilderness when the Most High gave us manna to eat and complained. When the Most High drew a line in the sand, okay, and told Moses, you stand on one side and let the disobedient stand on the other, while the Most High swallowed Israel in a hole. The same disobedience that when Moses went up to get the law, upon coming down, our people had a golden calf. And said that a golden calf saved us out of Egypt. Okay? The dysfunction that we see in our neighborhoods started a long time ago. What I'm seeing on the Atlanta housewives and what I'm seeing perpetuated through these so-called reality shows, folks, we were acting out like this well before the Gentiles, before the Most High sent the Gentiles against us. Right? To the degree in which when the so-called white man took us, because don't forget, they didn't just come to the shores and drag us to the Americas. It wasn't that simple. It was through careful examination. They were examining our moral codes, the immorality. They were examining a lot of different aspects because you would need to be able to psychoanalyze these people if you're going to keep them in perpetual captivity. And they realized, they said, you know what? There's some heathenistical spirits that's going on that we as Romans can tap into and control them. Right? So even when they set us free in so-called America, being free to do all that's right, with no threat of someone coming to your house, hanging you and all that, we still, as a people, would lean towards disobedience. There's no white man forcing us to be homosexuals. There's no white man that's forcing us to kill each other. Are you following me here? There's no white man to say that it's okay to be whoremongers and be wicked and disobedient and atheist. This is the perfect example of what we would be, folks. Now that we're free to do good or evil, what is Israel choosing? What are we choosing? The psychological impact of the curse, or is it the impact of slavery in itself? Or, brothers and sisters, is there something in us that have us continually choose wrong? Is where I wanted to go. Is it slavery? Or is it something in us that even the nations examine, that they could use to keep the conspiracy going? What's in us? Because right now we're free to do what's right. We're free to be good people. We're free to open up this Bible, look at the law, and choose right. Why aren't we? Why aren't we? I'm going to let you come in 1 second, Lawya. I wanted to put that out there. Let me finish going over these calls real quick. And I'm saying this, Elder Lawyer, why? I went to Philly today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I seen someone that I grew up with. A brother I grew up with that I went to school with. Elder Lawyer. And man, he didn't look too good. I hugged him for about 5 minutes straight. And, I exchanged numbers with him and talked with him a little bit, right?
Mm.
And I'm like, brother, you know what's right. Why is you choosing this? You can tell he probably been through the ringer, drugs or whatever the case is. And you should, his answer was, well, you brother, God know my heart. And I'm like, brother, look at you, man. I mean, I'm like, when I grew up, all the girls loved you, brother. Look what you doing to yourself, man. And he says, man, God know my heart, and no one's perfect. And I just have to do me, man. I got to do me. You know how I always was, And I'm looking at him. I'm like, brother, listen, whenever you want to talk, you want to pray, whatever the case is, because you have to realize this is someone I knew, Elder Lawyer, a good brother. And when I seen it, I'm like, you know what? This is not a result of some other nation doing something to him. He chose this route.
Right.
Look what we do under so-called freedom and blame other nations and blame others for our condition. When are we going to come back to the Most High? When are we going to own up as a people or as an individual and say, you know what? I'm not going to make no more excuses. I'm going to serve the God who put me under the Gentiles' foot. I'm going to call on the Most High. I'm going to go through this Bible. I'm going to realize that I'm the people and take responsibility. And by doing so, take my position, okay, as a child of promise. I no longer want the curse or captivity. I no longer want the dysfunction. And I'm not blaming the white man or any other nation anymore. The curses are over. The world is mine. And above all, I'm a child of promise. It was deep looking at that today when I seen the brother Lawyer. And, because, these are people I grew up with. And I'm looking at that. I'm like, you know what? That wasn't what we're doing to ourselves isn't a direct result of the white man or other nations. They have the conspiracy, let them cut us off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. But our natural action of disobedience and hatred and variance one amongst another, we as a people at this point know better and still choose wrong. And we were like this in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
352 area code. Shalom. You're live with the Gathering of Christ Church.
Good evening, Elder.
Good evening.
I just want to say that I really, it's a spirit, you know what I'm saying? And once you let that spirit in, we can play just a little bit. and open that window to that spirit, it's going to come in and it's going to take you over. Everybody that was, everybody was not, I don't believe, is so evil and doing against the Most High, like, just the same way when he said, draw the line, and those that didn't come over this way didn't, and those that did, they fell in the hole, okay? I just really believe that it's a choice that people make. They let that spirit get in them, and when they do, hey, they do evil, wicked, mean, ugly things. And that's why the Father tells us all through the Word, the wheat and the tare will grow together. He's going to do the separating, and those that are doing the right thing and trying to stand for the Most High, even back then, those that weren't trying to do the right thing or were doing the right thing, they were killed. They couldn't read the Word. They, if they got caught reading the Word, they were going to die. And so they put a lot of fear in them and all
90
that,
seconds.
And so that's why I really believe, because, I can just look at myself. I know I was with younger how a lot of people were not doing, we knew when said, somebody was killed around the corner there, and they found a girl raped and dead over there, or somebody was molesting their daughter, or we knew it was a white person that did it. So who would,
60 seconds.
They wouldn't even say it was a white person that did it. But we knew they were white. They won. And so that was one of the things that, as we kept going on, and they had our word. And so they can say, okay, well, we're going to keep them in the darkness. We know if we keep letting them telling them to eat the pork, lobster, and the shrimp, this is going to keep them separated. So this is what they do, And so they kept doing that. And hey, tell them it's okay to sin, okay to go and live in fornication, and sleep with somebody else's husband. It's all good. Keep them separate. Just keep them separated. Okay, so I really believe that these people have
10 seconds.
A lot of things to keep us separated from the Most High because of this. I don't think that everybody was like just saying, we're doing this. They found us over there in Africa, wherever else, doing this, that, and the third. Not everybody. It's just like right now today. Everybody's not doing that.
Well, sister, of course.
Everybody is not doing that.
Of course, everybody's not doing that. Of course. Of course, everyone.
Yeah, but that's how they found us. They didn't find everybody. There's a lot of people that were not that way, and they were killed.
Sister,
for standing for right.
Sister, that is
right down today.
Sister, that is correct. There were those that were doing what was right, tried to do what's right, okay, and was, persecuted and all that. But sister, what I'm trying to focus on right now, right? And you're right. And I'm glad you're bringing a different perspective. But as a nation, when I go into my neighborhoods and when I go to where I lived at and all that, something is going on amongst us or with us at an, that's listen to what I'm saying. That's irregular. And that we have allowed dysfunction to take over. Sister, we have allowed dysfunction to overtake even the good. Have you noticed that?
Yes, well, we're not standing up. You're not standing up and saying things. It just takes over. But there's still, like myself, I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna do the right thing, and I'm gonna say what I have to say. And if I'm gonna be, whatever, it's gonna be that way, And I know there's others out there the same way, just like me. I'm gonna stand for right, and that's it. And because broad is the way that leads to destruction, and the Father already has told us. Broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many be there to find it. But narrow is the gate that leads to life, and few will be there to walk in that. And you know what? We just some of them few. And so I'm just going to focus on what I know that I better be doing to make it into that kingdom. Because it's just the way it is. It's going to be many people that just fall off and just, they just doing what they do because, the way of the world and they have, these people have taught, and have brainwashed us to think these things and they don't think any other kind of way. I don't know what, how to, because I'm talking to somebody, like every day. And they just, that Bible, that's written for the, and I said, well, that's what they want you to think for a time like as right now. And you really need that word.
Thank you.
So,
thank you, sister.
It's a broad case.
Thank you.
That's it.
And you know what?
All right.
And I'm glad the sister brought that perspective also, because I was asking what positive have come out of all of what we've gone through. Since the shores of Africa, we had the disobedience or the curse that was prophesied in Deuteronomy and all through the Old Testament, the lamentation of Israel, from Jeremiah crying about Israel. We had Christ dying on the cross and still being, believe it or not, betrayed by some of his own. Up until the degree of Africa, where, tribal warfare and what was going on. There was tribal warfare going on in the Americas amongst us before the white man came. But what's the positive? The sister said, listen, all of our people isn't in the wrong. We weren't all evil. And that's what the Most High had to remind Paul of. Because Paul was witnessing a lot of wickedness and evil and unrighteousness and was wondering, looking around him, where's the people of the promise? Is my work in vain? How is it I can speak to 100 people or 1,000 people and only one come to hear the only true light in the earth? And the Most High, through the Spirit of Yeshua, Christ, the Messiah, told Paul, I have 5,000 men who haven't bowed to Baal. Just because you can't see them doesn't mean they don't exist. There's some people out there who love and honor me and who will stand with me even to the death. Okay. And guess what? Those numbers exist in the earth today. These are the numbers we're looking to gather. It's a remnant that the Most High have called who will stand for him throughout all generations. And they're in the earth today. They're in the earth. And I would like to believe those that are within listening range and those who see what I see and who are looking at this are part of that remnant. Because through all of what they've done, the programming, the setting up false doctrine, setting up false preachers, all that they've done, they've even changed Bibles to the new version and this version. The Most High was able to speak to us and call us back anyway. But the whole point of this broadcast was to get all different perspectives. There's no right or wrong. Okay? To get all of our perspectives on the psychological impact of the curse. Right? Let me clear up the rest of these calls, and from there, we'll wish you all Godspeed, and I have a few more announcements. 580 area code.
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom.
Elder Lawyer, Elder Rawchaa.
Shalom. How are you?
Good. How are you guys doing? You said you wanted all perspective, so
all,
you got
all perspectives.
The Gentile man that called last Wednesday.
Okay, we have a Gentile's
My
perspective.
name is Jesse. I'm in Oklahoma.
A Gentile brother in Christ. Talk to us.
All right. So you were just asking about the positives And it's really hard to see the positives because we're not all the way into the positives yet. It's pretty easy to see the negatives because, well, you guys are still the majority, like in the negatives. So it's like, all right, let me think how I'm going to say this. Got a few points. Basically, the first one would be the curses are all very evident upon you. It says that it'll be there for a sign and a wonder, and it is. Like, you guys fit, I think John Boy said it best, that fits you like a blazer. And I don't know, man. It's so nuts. And I see all these churches popping up. It's wild because you all have a different point of view, but it's neat seeing you guys come to this grander understanding of who you are. And it's also really neat being a Gentile who's actually able to see it too, because most of my people are still into that other thing. But I see there's a lot of you, I put it like this to be funny, but I guess it's really not a joke, but I'll say it anyway. Waking up on the wrong side of the bed, and you have every right to be angry. And it makes perfect sense, and I can definitely empathize with that. But I was thinking, the psychological... Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, make your point.
I was going to say the psychological effects of the slaves is something that you would know better than me, but the rest of the world, I can see how our plan has fallen on our own head, even during our reign, because whenever you, the people of the Most High, who were supposed to, reign over us and keep us living in righteousness, teach us righteousness, you're supposed to be the light to the dark world. I'm not blaming anything or anything like that. But anyway, as it's come to pass that we've got the dominion or whatever it is, the world has become super religious and at the same time lawless and godless. We got so much religion, so much praise and worship to we don't know what. And you guys are getting sucked into it with us because I see that your spirits are hungry, but you don't know for what, because the Most High turned his face from you. He said he hid his face from you. But it's all, the 2 days are over, and it's all turning around, and it's a miracle. I always wanted to be special. I wanted there to be some relevance to this day and age that I'm living in, and I found it, and it's right here. It's happening. I mean, I look to, in my Christian days, I looked to the Jews, the fake Jews, who were over there, violating babies in circumcision and kissing a rock and doing these weird things. And I'm like, these can't be, like, have they, I don't know. I mean, if they're over there and they're not doing sacrifices, why not? I mean, they don't believe in Christ, so why aren't they doing sacrifices? And if they're not obeying, they're doing the biggest gay pride parades and everything in the world, why aren't they getting kicked out and put into slavery? And then whenever I came across you guys, it just hit me in the face. It's like they're in slavery. They're in the bondage. They're right here. Why am I in the United States? You're in the United States. And I just wanted to give everyone, I don't know, a word of encouragement. And there's a few of us out there who are rooting for you. We really are. We love you. And we want to see you guys bring the kingdom. We want to be the ones fulfilling the prophecy that was said, where it is spoken that you are not the people, there it is also going to be said that you are the sons and daughters of the living God, the Most High, the highest. So rise, Israel.
Okay, hey, brother, let me have your name.
My name is Jesse.
Jesse, I'm glad you were able to you were able to call in and bring a perspective, an outside perspective, knowing that you may be a Gentile or a non-Israelite. I take it again, you are probably what you would call a white person, right, or so-called white man.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, now
I'm like really
and I'm just putting it out there just to bring clarity to those who might be listening. It doesn't make a difference to me what color, what race you are, brother, if you are following Christ. Let me make that clear, okay? But I wanted to read this on how real the understanding of the Bible is, that I will be speaking to you in the end day as a child of Israel and know it. And you come into the light and understanding outside of me, not having no contact with me, coming to the same conclusion that the Most High had me come to. It says here in Jeremiah 16:19, O Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction. And that's the day we're in. That's what we're witnessing, the affliction of our people. The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. The Most High let us know. See, and that's what a lot of what we can take from this, which is positive, is prophecy. The Most High fulfilling his word on the positive end of things, okay, opposed to us just looking at the curses in itself.
Absolutely.
Yes, he fulfilled his word concerning the curse for disobedience, but he also fulfilled the word that if you come back to me and begin to understand and follow my commandments, you will surely see the Gentiles come before you and let you know we knew something was special about you the whole time, but couldn't put our finger on it. That you are really the children of God, and you're the only people fulfilling what was written of in the word. Now the world makes sense. And now we understand that the education that was taught to us wasn't education at all. They were lying the whole time. You're the children of Jacob. The Most High told us that one day the children of Israel who were cursed in slavery would be faced with the Gentiles telling us that they know what we're saying is true. That we are, in fact, the true children of God. Not to boast, but to give glory to the Most High who put us in this condition. And this is a light to us. What we're hearing tonight is a light to us, that the Most High haven't altogether forsaken Israel. He's fulfilling his promise. And guess what, folks? That one remnant, that small remnant, will gather together one day, and we will rule this earth in righteousness. It was written. The same God that said we would go into slavery promised it. Okay. He promised it, that this would be our last captivity. And then a remnant, those that choose Christ, okay, begin to look inwardly and understand that it was us. We've been an enemy to ourselves by sinning within this vessel the Most High blessed us with. We've been enemies of God by breaking the law and making excuses for our wickedness. When we begin to admit that and come to that realization, the Most High will hear us and forgive us and give opportunity at that point. But go on, you had one other point. Go ahead.
All praise the Most High. That was exactly. I'm like, okay, I've been in this knowledge of this truth for a couple of years now. I don't know, like what do I do? Like I see Israelites not knowing who they are, doing mediocre jobs. I run into them. Do I just like come right out and say it to them? Like how do I? Will they hear me? Since I'm not an Israelite. Also, like what do I do, Elder? Can you give me a little bit of guidance there?
Are you amongst the body there?
Okay, in Oklahoma, I have like 4 or 5 friends. We gather on some Sabbaths here and there. We do get together for the holy days. Usually there's, 15 or 20 and, children. But, I wouldn't say we're necessarily GOCC, but we do love you guys, and we watch your videos. And yeah, to a degree, I'm with the body. And I mean, a lot of this, like most of them have families and stuff like that, and they got a lot of, they're pretty occupied, but they want to do the work, and we do gather when we can.
Okay.
But me, I work 5 days a week, but I'm free.
Okay, well, this is what we'll do. We'll call you. I have your number here. I wrote your number down. We'll call you and let you know exactly what you would need to do if you would like to spread the word and have some work within the ministry. We'll talk about it. Okay, but above all, I thank you for you coming on, contributing on the radio, giving us your testimony. You understand, and I thank the Most High that the Most High has not just awakened Israel, but the Gentiles also. And let me say this, brother, if the Most High put something in your spirit, if you put, a thought in your spirit to give to a brother and sister in need who may need that understanding, and tell them, walk up to them and say, do you know that you're the people, do you know that you're the people written of in that Bible, that the Bible, no, that you are really those people. Tell them, because it's deep, brother, because the reality is our people have been conditioned, the psychological impact of the curse. We've been conditioned to listen to others on the outside of us before ourselves. So use that gift the Most High given you and the influence that you have right now. And if it be the Most High's will, that brother or sister will come to the knowledge of truth. Because I've seen many days where someone called me and say, well, it was this white guy who came to a supermarket and wrote your web page down and walked away. And she's in the church right now. Right?
All right.
So, hey, brother, do the work. All right?
All right. I'll give it I'll try.
Okay.
What's going to happen?
Well, I have your number. I have your number, Jesse. A great caller. I'll have Elder Lawya reach out to you. All right.
All right. Thank you, Elder.
You're welcome.
All right. Look.
Okay, and I wanted to say again, our Hebrew and Bible Academy, folks, you don't want to miss this. We have new lessons, UFOs and the Bible, breaking down from Genesis to Revelations, the fact that we were never alone. And what the world called extraterrestrials, what are they? You're going to find out about the good ones, the righteous angels, and the bad ones in our academy. That's right. UFOs and the Bible. Are we alone? Will be one of the lessons in the academy. You don't want to miss that. Okay. We're going to also be breaking down the spirit that, like I've gone into detail, but not all the way, that developed from the sin of Adam and Eve that led to families separating till this day. How from that day, that curse, since that day, man and woman have grew apart, even though woman is from man. Okay? Man was created from the dust of the ground, and woman means from man. From that day of the curse, man and woman have grown apart. You're going to find out there was a spirit that was there, that we must battle, that we must fight against, not each other. We can't fight against each other. We have to fight against that spirit that came in through, again, disobedience. The academy, you don't want to miss it. And again, the enrollment ends June 21st. Okay, June 21st, the enrollment ends. We will start the academy, the new academy, June 23rd. If you would like to be a part of it, gatheringisone@AOL.com is the email. Go to historytimes.org to enroll. We are not alone. We've never been. You don't want to miss that in the academy. All right. Let me go down the line and then I will turn it back over to Elder Lawya. down the line. Let's see who we have familiar here. I want to make sure. Okay, 267 area code. Looks like a neighbor, a Philly number. 267 area code.
Hey, shalom, Elder.
How
are you?
I'm blessed by the best, and his name is Ahia.
God. I just first want to say wonderful broadcast today, wonderful broadcast. And to answer one of the questions that you've been asking throughout the show, what's the positive side? You know, the brother that just came on, you know, who spoke, definitely a positive side to our captivity, because it was through him seeing us being in captivity that he realized who we were. So without that prophecy being fulfilled, we wouldn't even be able to be identified. And that also is a positive aspect when it comes for Israelites themselves, because I know a lot of people in the church that came to the knowledge of the truth through the understanding of the 12 tribes. Not myself, but many, many other testimonies. So if it had not been, you know, for that prophecy being fulfilled at this time, a lot of us wouldn't have been able to receive the understanding. So I would definitely say that's a positive part. And I just want to thank you, you know, Elder Lawya, Elder Gabar, you know, Elder Rawchaa, you know, and all the local bishops and deacons for the work that you do, because that is also a positive part of our captivity, because it causes those who were born with that light in them to rise up to help save our people. Seeing in our people in such a destitute state, it quickens the spirit in those who the Most High chose to teach us, with that hope in them that those who were meant to hear will hear it. So I thank all of you for answering that call, because I'm a product of that work, and I wouldn't be here in this walk had it not been for that obedience to the Spirit of the Most High through seeing the state of us as a people. And lastly, I just wanted to share something with you. I went to the park this week with my children and my husband, and you know, we were there having a good time. And I'm watching my children because, you know, I have an infant, so I had to sit down. I couldn't run around with them because I had to watch the baby. But I'm watching them play, and I'm noticing also other children there, as well as their parents. And I'm just going to use one sister as an example, because I saw many scenarios, but the Most High just had me looking at this, and I saw one sister. She had, it looked like about a 4-year-old daughter, a 3-year-old daughter, and about an 8-9-month-old infant. And she put the infant in the swing, and she's swinging him, and she walked away. She walked away from the baby and went to a whole other side of the park, left the baby there with the 4-year-old and the 3-year-old pushing the baby aggressively. You know, and I'm sitting here, you know, being a woman, I'm shaking, because I'm like, Lord, please don't let this baby, you know, fall out the swing. You know, because there's no one there watching. I'm like, Lord, if I see that baby head tip, I'm running over there. You know, because I'm terrified. But this was something, as we're talking on this broadcast, that I thought of, because I'm like, that's also, you know, and I don't know if you can comment on this, if this relates to, as you and Elder Lawya so poignantly put, that this was a state we've been in before captivity, but captivity gave us the freedom to dwell in disobedience. How does us as women being negligent to protecting our children and viewing them as treasures, you know, how does, whether it be slavery or history itself, relate to that? You know, because I know that I'm not perfect as a mother, and I see within my own mind that I still struggle with certain things in terms of keeping my children close. You know, we've been raised like, oh, it's okay for you to do this and that. But I'm noticing the more that I grow in the truth, no, they have to be as close to me as possible. I can't let them out of my sight. And I see my sisters suffering from this, even members of my family who are close to me, where I'll say to them, why would you let that child go alone? And I'm seeing that there's no sense of urgency when it comes to protecting our children as women. And if you could just expound upon that, you know, that would be a blessing. I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for bringing it out, that it wasn't the captivity, that we were this way as a people prior, because it gives a broader understanding on how to overcome it.
Well, sister,
So I thank you for that, Elder, and bless you.
Well, sister, thank you. Listen, thank the Most High above all, and thank you for your phone call. It was very articulate and poignant. But I wanted to say this, and this is going to lead to the class that's going to be coming in the academy. I know I keep saying that, but you don't want to miss this. The reality is what you witness, sister, is a result of a curse. Her leaving the babies. And a lot of us, again, would like to relate the curse to slavery, when really we were closer together as a family during the time before we was, quote unquote, emancipated. We were closer together and cared more for each other in chains. Here's the reality, sister. What you're seeing is a lack of love. And what happens is you can only love when you've learned to be loved. Listen to what I'm saying. When you learn and have experienced love, that's the spirit you actually perpetuate or you share going forward with your children. And that's a direct result. I'm gonna put you on because I see you got some love behind you. I'm gonna put you on hold for a second. Okay, it's okay. No, what I'm saying is if you have a woman who's not loved by a man and don't know what that love is, that's the spirit, that's the generational curse that happens for the next generation. That lack of love between that man and woman, because there was supposed to be a level of love to produce the child. But if that love is lacking, you'll see it play itself out like children being left like we've just witnessed. Okay, and that curse goes well beyond, is way deeper than captivity, folks. Let me read this real quick in the Bible. Because this is written up in the book of Job. It says, Job 39:13 reads, "Gavest the goodly wings unto the peacocks, or wings and feathers unto the ostrich, which leaveth her eggs in the earth, and warmeth them in the dust." Right? So an ostrich would take her eggs and warm the eggs and cover the eggs in the dust, and forgetteth that the foot may crush them, or that the wild beast may break them. So she'll put her offspring there without any care, speaking of the ostrich, that she may step on or kill her own child. Abortion. Or the animals may come and eat the eggs, like the Gentile nations are destroying our children. Why? Because there's a lack of love there. And that's why it says right here in the next verse, she is hardened against her young ones. You will hear the same women as these children they left grow up, cursing their own children out. She is hardened against her young ones as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain without fear. She don't even fear the God who made her. But that comes with that curse, that separation, not realizing or understanding that love that should have produced the child. That's the perpetual curse that's going on within our communities. That same love that was used to produce the child was supposed to protect the children, protect the child. We're going to be dropping stuff like that in the academy, folks. That because of that lack of love and that curse between a man and a woman, it's produced in bitterness, forgetfulness, hatred. And what happens is it creates a spirit in which the woman lashes out at the child. A curse. Let me go down. I only got a few more. We only got a few minutes, so I'm in the spirit, right? We're in the spirit now, so let's talk about it. Only got a few more calls here. Let's see, 219 area code.
There we go. Hey.
Shalom.
Hello?
Yes.
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom. How are you?
Hello? I'm all right, brother. How you doing?
I'm blessed by the best.
Okay, man. I just had a quick question because I heard Elder Lawya and Elder God just say one time. Well, I heard Elder God just say that you can't help the wicked, right? And then it was one time you were saying in the Bible that whoever blessed Israel would get blessed. I was wondering, do I help righteous Israelites and, refrain from helping Israelites who are sinning? Is that how it goes? Or I just look at them as one and the same as far as teaching them information about finance?
Well, I don't deal with teaching people about finance and teaching the word of the Most High are two separate things. Okay. I don't confuse the two. Okay. We have an obligation in this ministry to help all people. We are born in sin.
Right.
Okay. But I don't know what example you're making. Like, for instance, if I know that someone out there is going to use some money to do drugs, you can see the tracks on their arms, I'm not going to give that person money. Mm-hmm. But if I see they need something to eat, I'll buy a sandwich. Right. I'll buy a sandwich for them.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Exactly. So there's ways you can help people, you understand, without hurting or perpetuating the evil they are exhibiting. But it's upon us to help everyone. Okay?
Okay. So if you see like a brother or sister and you see they may not have good intentions with how they will use that money, just refrain from giving that person, money or information. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, many days, brother. I would see brothers that are homeless or people are hurting. And, I can tell, I grew up, where we grew up at. You know what people do. You understand? So it's like, listen, if you want something to drink, you want something to eat, I'm going to help you with that. But I'm not going to contribute to your downfall. And you can put that same understanding in any areas as an example of fault when it comes to a person. You're not going to put them in position to sin. Okay?
Okay, like right. Even if they're not homeless, right?
Even if they're not homeless. Okay,
I got you. Okay, yeah, because, thank you so much, yo. I really need to know that.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Elder Lawya, too.
Brother, keep in mind. Keep in mind, Christ came and died while we were in sin. He came for the unrighteous. He came for those who were in sin. So we're not to turn a blind eye just because someone is doing something wrong or they might not be, on the path yet. Okay? It's our position to guide them to the path. Okay? 352 area code.
Sorry, we already talked.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going down the line here. 770 area code. Shalom, the psychological impact of the curse. Good evening. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm blessed by the best, and his name is Ahaya. You're live.
I almost forgot what the question was, but the sister who called and gave the example with her and her family in the past, I was thinking part of the curse was, I forgot what the question was, but that's the comment I had, is how it affects marriages, especially young. I mean, I know older people have problems too, but young marriages today, because I feel like a lot of people are getting married today and they're not ready. They're not ready to be wives. They're not ready to be husbands. And it affects a lot of our younger sisters, because I see it every day in the world. And as the sister gave the example with the mother who left her child in the swing, I was thinking a lot of young women today did not have that example, or do not have that example of how to be a wife, how to be a mother. So like an example with me is, I remember when I was like 14 or 15 years old, I had to take care of my little sister, my little brother.
And my stepmother would literally train me, changing diapers, preparing food, and I actually enjoyed it, even though I always thought I would, not want children myself, but I enjoyed doing it, learning about it. But a lot of young women these days, they don't have that. They didn't get that, to learn how to be a wife, to take care of their family. And to me, that's part of it, because I can go on, and this could be another totally different topic. But
well,
that's
here's a
something that
okay.
Curse has fixed.
Okay, sister. Here's a question, though, because, right, we're dealing with, right, just getting it back in perspective, the psychological impact of the curse, slavery, right? How can we relate what's going on in our neighborhoods right now with families being separated and all that as a result of slavery? When we were together in slavery, the examples of family was in slavery. We even seen the nations who are ruling over us married. Where did we get what's going on amongst us now? Where did that come from?
Well, because we were separated during slavery, and so it became like a domino effect. I used to be against arranged marriages, but I can see how arranged marriages can work. Because sometimes you can go to counseling and say, okay, I'm going to cross my T's and dot my I's and do all the things I'm supposed to do. Like I have a friend who's getting married, and I was trying to tell her, if you don't have Christ over your marriage, it's not going to work. And people these days are not thinking about that. They're just thinking about, he has a great job, he makes 6 figures, and I'm going to go to school, and everything's going to be great. A lot of people don't have that was passed down from their parents to them these days. That's how I think it affected. So if we weren't separated, it would have been different. So yes, I know other nations, they have examples of marriages, but that's not the example from the Bible or from the Most High.
That's true.
From our, mother Sarah and Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it's not the same example. It works for them because they weren't given the laws. We were given the laws, and we were given a certain way to operate. And we're not operating like that. So that's how, sometimes I see, I'll go to a public bathroom and I'll see a woman, helping her baby or changing the diaper, and I'm watching. I almost want to help. Well, of course, I know I can't do it, and I'm like, wow, she's doing all the wrong things, but she's only doing what she knows or what she thinks she knows. But with me, I was trained literally by my stepmom. That's something different versus someone who didn't have any training. And then you could say, well, why is she the way she is? If she didn't have that, how would she know better? And that's part of the curse. It wasn't passed down to us.
Well, thank you, sister. Great points. Great points. All right. I appreciate it. Great points. Sisters are making some great points tonight. I'm going to put you on hold, okay?
Good night.
Great. Good night. I'll tell you, sisters are bringing some good points tonight. But I wanted to also emphasize, maybe that's a show in itself, right? We witnessed families staying together while in slavery, while in captivity. We even witnessed families staying together on plantations where, even though the so-called slave master had his little crew would go do what they want to do amongst the quarters, we still witnessed the family environment while in captivity. After captivity, once slavery was abolished, family was encouraged. Righteousness more so, as far as being together, was encouraged. And someone having a child out of wedlock was frowned upon. So there was some level of spiritual discipline. Of course, there were outliners. Of course, we're not going to say that it's absolute. But the majority of us coming out of slavery thought morally and thinking family first, right? So where is it of what we see today? Where did all that come from, right? That's why I wanted to ask that question. And I know the sister mentioned, well, we were separated in captivity and all that. But no, when we grew up, we seen families together. Okay. And we're gonna do a show on this. What we're seeing today, the separation of family, is being perpetuated and funded through a campaign, let's call it that, a campaign called feminism. It's a campaign. Okay? The campaign of feminism. Let me tell you something about feminism, folks. A lot of you may not know. And I know people like it's about being strong and a woman can do. Nah, feminism was made out of a plan to kill off all black people, all people of color, all people of color, man and woman alike. That's why I'm confused when I see a woman of color claiming to be a feminist. Don't you know how feminism started? Margaret Sanger, even before that, the whole thought of feminism came out of eugenics and the destruction of black people or people of color throughout the earth. Their whole plan was to act as if, it's about woman empowerment, but really they knew that it would affect us more so, us trying to follow the trend. They knew at the end of the day that we would take it on and cleave to it and use it for self-destruction. Okay? Feminism was made with the idea of killing off and destroying people of color, black people in particular. Man and woman. That's why it's strange to hear a sister claim to be a feminist. Okay? That's when it all started kicking in. When feminism became an agenda. The separation of family, targeting us, and empowering our women over us while incarcerating the men. It was a plan. Right? A few more calls. We're gonna have a show on that too. Only a few more calls. 513 area code.
Hey, how you doing?
Blessed by the best, and his name is Ahia.
You there?
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. Yes. Another issue within our community, believe it or not, with African American men or Hebrew men, is that many of us are very insecure, and we ascribe to an inferior mindset. And unfortunately, when a brother who does not embrace the inferior mindset through the power of the Ruach and the law, that brother may sometimes get debased or rebuked or, for instance, I'll patronize you a little bit. You're a brother, you brought forth the truth and great understanding of the word, but many African American people will probably refuse this understanding and refuse this truth because you're a brother. If you were a white man, then it'd probably be greatly embraced. So I find a lot of African American men to be just really insecure. And I think that's due, again, to the slavery we just discussed here.
Okay.
In addition, our women are just put on pedestals. Black women are like the most, they do better than most groups, ethnic groups, when it comes to getting degrees and doing well in school. For instance, you have Simone Sanders, this Democratic woman who looks like a man, who debases black men. And she parades herself as if she's just, pro-black, but yet she's all for Bernie Sanders, who reported that, black people shouldn't even get reparations. So you have a lot of division between the black man and the black woman. And so what that causes black men to be insecure, and it causes black women to feel like, hey, I don't need a man. So people say, well, black women are deemed unattractive. It's not that they're physically unattractive. It's just they come off so masculine to many people. It's just, that's unattractive for a man to look at a woman and she's acting like a man, and she's imposing herself on a brother, or it's a great division within our community when it comes to a man and a woman. The woman is revered, the man is debased, and this all stems from slavery. where the slave master would say, hey, I'm going to put her up. I'm going to deal with her. I'm going to do the business with her. I'm not going to deal the business with the man. So then our families mimic that same behavior where we put our daughters on pedestals, but then our sons, we just kind of push them to the side, which is so antagonistic to the Scripture. It goes completely against Scripture. So I'm happy that you brought that out. And it would be great to have a discussion about this, how this government or the system has divided us.
You know what? What? Allow me, just on one part, to disagree. Just on one part.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, because let's bring some levity to this, right?
Yes, sir.
The whole deal is, what I'm hearing here, you brother, is this. We more so glorify and hold the woman up in respect, opposed to the man who's left out there. And let me say this.
Yes, sir.
Let me say this. We as men of the Most High, are supposed to give honor and hold our sisters up. Okay? And let me tell you, that's not being negative. That's not being what they call it out there a simp, because you have to realize a lot of insecurities that happens with our sisters is that everyone else, every other woman is held up while they're being ignored. Okay? So, but the Bible let us know that we have to make sure we uphold and put on a pedestal the virtuous woman. Opposed to, and the virtuous women gets no play and no respect or even a mention in this world. Okay? So I wanted just to correct you on one part, because why? It tell you that a young girl growing up should be protected. I remember growing up, there's certain things we could hit each other, but my father made sure that if someone hit my sister, it was going to be a problem. In the house or out of the house. And he told us, listen, if I hear that anyone touched your sister, male or female, and you were around, I'm going to deal with you. If our sisters had that same protection till this day, we wouldn't be dealing with the things we are complaining about. What we're seeing is women who have to fend for their own and become masculine because there's no one around.
That's true. That is true.
So I'm just saying, we have to bring some levity to this. What would you do if you were a weaker vessel, didn't have the strength of a man, but you were alone and had to protect you and your children? You would take on a different demeanor.
Well, yeah, you'll overcompensate. Yeah, absolutely.
So what I'm saying, it's upon us.
Absolutely, you're right. You're right. That brings forth some balance and understanding. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So it has to be a lacking.
I'm saying, but this is what I'm saying.
Masculinity for our women to overcompensate. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I'm not saying.
I totally agree.
Listen, bro, I'm not making no excuses for what's wrong, but what I'm saying is leaders who are called to be leaders tend to understand. And when one is overtaken by a fault and we are spiritual, we must be able to now bring her out of that understanding that's against her nature and have her see it's against her nature. You think women like holding everything up? It's a burden on them. But what man is willing to stand up and take that position and not blame her and help the nation and help her come around to see her righteous, her virtuous position? So that's a conversation in itself, and it still lead to a class we're going to have in the academy. So let me do that.
We'll have to get that in June, right? You say June?
June 23rd. You don't want to miss it. We're going to be hitting some serious stuff.
I'm not going to miss that one.
All right. Okay. All praises be to the Most High. All right. And see, and that's why Listen, that's why I love having these open-ended conversations so that we can just come to a reasoning through the mind of the Most High and his word. The Bible says we must be patient and long suffering. A lot of what we're seeing with our sisters is due to pain and hurt and what they're covering. And if we as the men of the Most High, the children of Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Issachar, if we can't bring them out of it, then what's to happen for our nation? The Gentiles aren't going to help them out of it. The other nations aren't going, I'm saying as a whole or a systematic whole, help them out of the dysfunctions. So their dysfunction, and I know this is going to hurt brothers, and not, right? Their dysfunction, brothers and sisters, is our dysfunction. Woman is not alone. She's from man. So if something is wrong with her, something is definitely wrong with us, the leaders. Okay? All right, only a few more. We only got about 8 minutes before this whole thing cuts out. All right. 647 area code. I keep on hitting 647. You were on here earlier, right?
Yeah, I was. I was, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. 646 area code.
No, yeah, 647.
646 area code. You're live.
Shalom, brother. Elder, how are you?
I'm blessed by the best, and his name is Ahia.
Yes, I just wanted to say real quick, the curses that I feel that affect us, it did cause us to be beat down, but it also led us into an unrepentant mindset, being complacent with foolishness and folly, also contributing to us still continuing to be wicked. And, you know, it's also fear and us lacking understanding. But the positive side of it, I want to say, is that the beautiful and positive thing is that Christ is redeeming us back to him, you know, by us coming into the Lord's statutes and commandments as chosen people who look like him, because we are the salt of the earth. Mm-hmm. And we also get a chance to be that ruling power with him. And the last thing I wanted to say is thank you for the balance that you brought with the brother. I like the brother's comment, and even the sister from a couple of calls ago where she said that, you know, you always had Israelites doing the right thing. So that's all I wanted to say, and thank you. And shalom.
Shalom. Shalom. Thank you, sister. Some great points tonight. And when we're talking about the psychological impact of the curse, which is slavery. Have we learned anything? And of course, based on what I'm hearing tonight, God's people have learned and is tired of our current condition. And not only that, we have people in this truth that are doing something about it. Okay. So I was definitely going to end it on a positive note, brothers and sisters. Yes, there is a psychological impact for going through what we've gone through. From Babylon, Rome to America, which is another lesson we're going to update and put in the academy. Right? From Babylon, Rome to America, yes, dysfunctions have developed. But the children of Israel is back, baby. The Most High said, in that same land where it was said, ye are not my people, there it shall be said that ye are the sons of the living God. He fulfilled his word in us. So the question is, will we in turn precipitate, right, and fulfill our purpose on earth as the children of light? Will we come back to this Bible and lead and stop walking the earth as some victims licking our wounds? Will we stand? That's a good question. A whole nother class in itself. We only have about 2 minutes before this broadcast ends. Elder Lawya, would you like to say a few words before I digress? Okay. into sleep mode.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Come
sir,
on.
absolutely. I want to close out with one scripture.
Come on.
This is 2 Chronicles 7:14, just showing that there is hope, there is light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. And we understand that Christ is that light if for those who receive him. It says here in the book of 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land, or heal their land. And with that, I say blessings and shalom.
Blessings. And guess what? You can get this shirt right here where Judah in Israel is placed on one stick together like it was prophesied. From where? I am apparel. I am apparel. You can get this shirt and others like it at iamapparel.org. That's right. Order the shirts, order the work, and this way we'll be able to get to different locations and spread this work before what? You got it. The Babylonian bounce. Like I said earlier, it's almost time. With that, I'm going to say shalom. I thank the Most High for this truth. I'm Elder Rawchaa, along with Elder Lawya. We are the Gathering of Christ Church, and we will soon see Zion. And guess what? We are about to release the single and the whole music project very soon. I hope you're ready. Shalom.
Thank you for using blog.